Holy shit, you just did the impossible. You sent an outreach message, got a reply, and actually managed to book a call with a real life business owner who's not like your mom's hairdresser. You are officially in the end zone. This is the grand finale, the final boss battle. You are one Zoom call away from landing your first ever high paying retainer client, seeing thousands of dollars flood into your bank account, because in this video, I'm gonna show you how to close high paying copywriting clients with one call, even if you're terrified of talking to people and can't even close a door. Better yet, I'm gonna give you the exact closing script that myself and hundreds of my students have used to close their first few copywriting clients, 2K, 3K, even 5K a month. This is the call that is going to change everything for you. Your first big client. You can finally quit that shitty low paying job, tell your boss to take a hike, and earn the financial freedom that you deserve. But not so fast. You're not across the goal line yet, because if you fuck this up, all your hard work, hundreds of outreach messages and follow-ups, late nights, early mornings will all be for nothing. No pressure. So let's talk about how to handle this call like a pro. I'm gonna give you the exact closing framework, word for word scripts, objection handling cheat sheets that myself and hundreds of my students have used to close their first ever client. In fact, I gave this script to an 18-year-old McDonald's fry cook, James. He used it to close 7 out of 7 of his first 7 calls and actually became one of my first ever 6-figure success stories. He's now a closing beast, makes over $2 million a year in his business. Am I promising you're gonna become a millionaire from this training? No. But I promise you're gonna be making a lot more money than you're currently making. So let's get into it.
Oh baby, here we are, part 8 of the 0 to 10K a month Copywriter Series. Never thought I'd see the day, but here we are. How to close 3K a month copywriting clients in one call. Even if you're a mega introvert who's terrified of talking to people and has never sold anything in your life. I just want to take a second to acknowledge how far you come. Before we get into this, we started not even knowing what copywriting was to talking about where to learn copywriting, the setup, the tech stack you need, farming, how to land your first client, how to do personalized outreach, how to do automated outreach, how to book calls, and then here we are in the end zone closing the deal. So you booked a call with a real life business owner who wants to learn more about your services. Now what? How do we go from call booked to signed, sealed, and delivered? That is exactly what we're going to be talking about right here, right now, in this absolutely nothing held back masterclass. So, for sake of clarity, I've divided this up into 5 different parts, which just so happen to spell the word close. Crazy coincidence. We're going to be talking about how to craft your offer and your price. We're going to be laying the groundwork, talking about the tech stack that you need to make this work. Don't worry, it's a very simple software. Number 3, we're going to own the call, which means what do we actually do on the call itself? We're going to be talking about squashing objections. We're going to cover every major objection that you may face. And then at the end, once you close them, how do you actually enroll the clients? And if you stick around until the end, I'm even going to be giving away my entire closing script that I have been using for the last 6 years successfully. Currently, it's only available inside of CMB, but I'm going to be giving it to you for free right below as a reward for making it through this entire series. So let's get into it. Before we actually talk about how to do this, I think it's always good to know who you're learning from. So firstly, who am I? Why should you actually listen to a word I say? Should you even listen to a word I say? Well, in my first ever sales job, I was the number 2 salesperson in the entire company in my first ever job within 5 days of starting. I was the number 4 affiliate for Alex Hormozi's book launch out of 23,000 affiliates, most of which had a 10 to 1,000 times bigger audience than me. The guy who came first literally had a 2 million person list. I have a list of 10,000 people, right? So, in my humble opinion, that was quite an impressive feat. I've closed hundreds of one-on-one sales calls over the last 6 years with an average lifetime 62% close rate, which is pretty much double the industry average. I've trained our sales team to close at an even higher rate. And most importantly, I've taught 800 plus copywriters my sales system, and I've helped them close their first paying clients on their first ever sales calls. So more importantly than the fact that I seem to just be naturally good at sales, which isn't very helpful for you, I've actually been able to translate this skill and teach it to others, which is the useful part for you. So right there on the left, this was, oh God, like 7 years ago, my first ever sales job. Literally the shittiest job you can imagine. I was selling car wax in parking lots to total strangers who didn't know me, didn't like me, didn't trust me, didn't want a fucking bar of me, didn't want to even talk to me. Just getting rejected all day, every day. My first day, I sold 1 can of car wax for $40. I took home $11 in commissions for a 10-hour workday. That's $1 an hour. By my 5th day, I'd sold over $750 of car wax, and I was the second best performing sales rep in the entire company that day out of like 50 to 100 salespeople. And then you can see on the right, number 4 in Hormozi's affiliate contest. So, with that said, before we talk about how to do this, I want to address the big, giant elephant in the room. That is going to be what I like to call the invisible handbrake. What is this invisible handbrake, you may ask? Excellent question. So here's the thing. When I learned my first ever sales script like 6 years ago for selling stuff online, I actually made $40,000 in my first ever month doing this when I first launched CMB like yonks ago. There were many other people in that program who learned the same script that I did, but they made exactly $0 as coaches. And I thought that was really interesting. Here's another thing. When I taught my student James this sales script, my sales script that I'll be giving you later, he closed 7 out of 7 of his first calls ever. He was literally a McDonald's employee before that. Yet I've taught the exact same script to other people, and those people have closed no one. So why is that? How could there possibly be such a big difference? Well, it's something that I like to call the invisible handbrake. This is something that is crippling your results, it's holding you back, and you don't even realize it's there. That's the worst part. So what am I talking about? What is this handbrake? That is going to be your conditioning and your programming around selling, money, wealth, and even just rich people in general. The truth is, most people have a horrible mindset around selling and money. And let me tell you, if you have negative connotations around sales or money, the only thing you are closing, my friend, is your laptop after yet another rejection. You can take that one to the bank. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to pull your punches. You're going to hold back. You're going to pussy out. You're going to undercharge. You're going to lock yourself into bad deals. And you're just going to end up, frankly, resenting your business and resenting your clients. And I'll give you a very real concrete example of this. If you chicken out and you lower your prices by just $500 on a call because you're supposed to charge $2,000, but you got scared and so you said $1,500, guess what? That is $6,000 a year that you are missing out on as a result of that one moment of fear. You do that with 5 clients and that is a $30,000 mistake. Literally just because you're a pussy for 5 seconds. And if you take nothing else away from this training, please let it be this. Number one law of life that I have learned over the last 27 years is that in this life, you do not get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. You can get absolutely anything you want in this life if you just simply ask for it. The worst part about all of this is that your terrible conditioning around money and wealth and sales isn't even your fault. Your subconscious has been programmed literally since the day you were born. Unless you grew up in an ultra rich household like the fucking king of Dubai or something, there's a 99% chance that you heard your parents fighting about money at some stage in your childhood, leading you to believe that money is like this scarce resource, right? How many times have you heard these phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees? The truth is though, money kind of does grow on trees. Like money is literally a near infinite resource. There are literally over $500 million being printed every single day in just America, not even counting the rest of the world. In 2020, during the pandemic, America literally printed nearly $4 trillion, just poof, out of thin air. Where did that money go? Into the economy, somewhere, right? It's out there, it's just not in your pocket yet, right? Because you haven't been through this training. So here's the thing, like unless you actually reprogram your subconscious, you are still holding on to these beliefs that you've had since childhood about money. And that is going to absolutely screw you when you try and actually launch your own business, start to make money online, go for the sale. It's like climbing Mount Everest with a rucksack on your back and you just have all this baggage there that you don't even know you have. It's going to be weighing you down and it's going to be near impossible for you to actually get results. And I'm willing to bet this is a major reason why you've never made any real money in your life. Or you have made money, but you spend it because deep down, you frankly don't believe that you deserve it. And if you do not release this handbrake, then none of the scripts, none of the frameworks, none of the strategies I'm going to be giving you in this training will matter. So before we get into all that stuff, we need to release this handbrake. Allow me to reframe money for you. The little fun exercise I like to call the money game. Now, I wanted to have a picture of me with a giant pile of cash here, but since I'm not a drug dealer, there's a 25K Rolex for you instead. This is me in New York, actually, when I got my first Rollie. This one right here, super proud of it. Took me like 4 months to get. Absolutely love this watch. It's a fucking banger. And who knows, after this training, you might just be able to get your hands on one as well. the money exercise. Let's do this. In a moment, I am going to say some sentences and I want you to grab a notepad and pen right now, pause this video, grab one. And what I want you to do is when I say the sentence, I want you to write down the very first word that comes to your mind. Okay? Do not filter it. Do not say what you think you would want me to say or any shit like that. Just literally write down the very first word that comes to your mind. Please actually pause this video. Go and get a pen and paper. Do this with me live now. You will get so much more out of it. I got all the time in the world. I'll give you a second. All right, I'm impatient. Let's get into it. So, number one, money is. Write down the very first word that comes to your head. Number two, money causes. Again, don't think first word that comes to your head, write it down. Number three, money makes people. Number four, people with money are. Number five, to have more money, I would need to. Number six, one good thing about not being rich is I get. And last one, number seven, I'm afraid that if I had more money, I would. Now, I want you to take a second and take a good, deep, hard look at the words that you wrote down. If you're like most people, your answers were probably a little bit scary. I've done this exercise with hundreds of my clients, and most of the time, the answers that I get are along the lines of money is evil, money causes fights, money makes people bad, people with money are assholes. To have more money, I would need to rob a bank. One good thing about not being rich is I get to be happy. I'm afraid that if I had more money, I would become a terrible person. Or whatever, right? Those are like pretty typical answers that I get when we do this. And you think if you have those beliefs about money, you're going to have an easy time selling? You're going to have an easy time extracting money from other people? If you truly deep down believe that it's going to make you an asshole? I don't think so. So here's what I want you to realize. Number one, money is a utility, nothing more. It is literally worthless paper that we simply just ascribe value to because it is easier than carting around wheelbarrows of gold or whatever, trading a chicken for a cow. At some point in time, humans just agreed that this piece of paper is worth $100 and that's all it is. It's just a verbal agreement. Money is simply a tool to buy stuff, to make your life better, to buy back more time. You know what else is a tool? A screwdriver. So here's the fun part. I want you to go back through the exact questions we just did and replace the word money with the word screwdriver. Read your answers again and literally try not to laugh. Screwdrivers are bad. Screwdrivers cause fights. Screwdrivers make people evil. People with screwdrivers are assholes. To have more screwdrivers, I would need to rob a bank. One good thing about not having screwdrivers is I get to be happy. Number seven, I'm afraid if I had more screwdrivers, I would become an asshole. It's ridiculous, right? Once you realize that money is literally just a tool, just like a screwdriver, do you think you can have an easier time closing sales now? Probably. So now that we've hopefully erased your horrible limiting beliefs around money, there's one more block we need to remove before we can get into selling, and that is your actual mindset around selling. Because once again, most people have a horrible mindset around selling. So allow me to reframe sales for you. Tell me, when I say the word sales, what do you think about? Like, what is the first word that comes to your head? If you're like most people, it's probably something along the lines of sleazy, snake oil salesman, that type of thing. Probably not something very good. And that's because most people think about selling in terms of super hardcore buy or die hard selling. However, that is really only one type of selling. The truth is, there are two different types of selling. Hard selling, which is the sleazy buy or die stuff, and then helping. My belief is that selling, at least in the way that I do it, is helping. You are simply helping the prospect to make the decision that is best for them. And that decision might be to not work with you, and that is okay. The goal is not to get them to work with you. It is to get them to make a decision. And a lot of people view sales as like it's a me versus the prospect type of thing. The truth is though, it's not you versus them. It is the two of you on the same team. You're on the same side trying to identify their problem and find a solution. All sales is simply a transference of conviction. And by the way, that is me selling you on an idea that sales is the transference of conviction. And I sound pretty convicted, so most people would agree with me. And in my opinion, the person who cares the most about the prospect wins. That includes the prospect, by the way. So hopefully that reframe was helpful. Now that we have your head actually screwed on straight, let's talk about how to actually do this. So I mentioned before, this training was going to be in 5 parts. So now I want to get super tactical and I want to talk about number 1, how to craft your offer and price. Why is there a picture of a $500,000 Birkin bag? All shall be revealed very soon, don't you worry. So before we sell anything, you need to decide what exactly it is you're selling and how much you charge. Pretty obvious. But you already did this in module 2, right? Granted, that was filmed a year ago, so you may have forgotten. Fair enough. But I want to remind you that the offer is by far the most important component of the entire sales interaction. Just like you cannot polish a turd, you cannot outmarket, outsell, or outcopy a lousy offer. But if you have a grand slam home run offer, you can literally suck at sales and still close at 50%. So a reminder of the diagram from module 2. The offer is king, it is God, it is Muhammad, it is Gandhi, it is Buddha, it is Allah, it is whatever you believe in. You get the offer right, and if you can actually deliver on it, your life is going to be a million times easier. The second rung below that, we have marketing. This is where copywriting goes, by the way. And if you nail this part, you don't really even have to do any sales. Think about a company like Apple. Their marketing is so phenomenal, and also their product is phenomenal, which is actually the most important thing. But because their product, their offer, and their marketing is so incredible, they don't need to do any selling. Like, people will literally queue up for days just to be like the first person to have the new iPhone. Apple's not selling you. You're not walking in there and they're saying, hey dude, you buy it today, I'm gonna give you this extra bonus, I'm gonna give you a 30% off discount, deal ends in 1 hour, you gotta get this, man, you gotta do it. There's none of that. Their salespeople are literally just order takers. Like, you walk into the store, you're like, hey, I want the Mac, boom, they sell you the Mac, $5,000, you walk out. Done. So you nail the offer, you nail the marketing, you don't really even have to worry about sales. That is going to be a huge theme throughout today because yes, this is a sales training. However, I'm a big fan of doing things the easy way. And the easy way is to have something that actually works, actually provides results, that's marketed well so people understand the value and they jump on the call already wanting to buy. That is much easier than trying to overcome a million objections. And then at the bottom, we have the survival tier, and that is sales. If you master the skill of selling things that people actually want, then you will never go hungry again. So yes, sales is also very important. So with that said, let's talk about the mechanics of a great offer. Now, I used to have my own framework for this, and then Hormozi's book, $100 Million Offers, came out, and frankly, his framework is just better than mine, so we're just gonna use his. You've probably read his book. If you haven't, what are you doing? Go read his book. But a quick recap of the value equation from the book. So if you want the value of your offer to have a very high perceived value and be able to sell it for a lot of money, then you want to sell a dream outcome, something your prospect really wants, with a high perceived likelihood of achievement, like it's guaranteed to work. And then we want to minimize the things on the bottom. So we want to have a very low time delay and very low effort and sacrifice. For example, imagine, hypothetically, that I had a pill which literally cured cancer in a day. You take the pill, cancer's gone forever. If you have cancer, that is the ultimate dream outcome, and it was 100% guaranteed to work based on 100,000 studies, and they've all cured their cancer. The time delay is pretty much zero, like you literally wake up the next morning, your cancer's cured, and the effort and sacrifice is zero. You literally put a pill in your mouth, swallow it. That's it. If you could actually do that and deliver on it, and it was actually legit, you could sell that pill for as much money as you wanted. Now, of course, we can argue about the ethics of the medical industry and blah, blah, blah. Not really important, just an example, okay? On the flip though, compare that to the current solution that we have for curing cancer, which is like chemo, for example. We have same dream outcome, which is you cure your cancer. Perceived likelihood of achievement, very low. It maybe has like a 10% success rate. The time delay is like 6 to 12 months, very long. And the effort and sacrifice is enormous. You're going to be in excruciating pain for like a year. You're going to lose all of your muscle mass, all of your hair, and you're going to become a shell of your former self. Not really a great offer. Yeah, they can still charge a shit ton of money for it because the alternative is death. So just an example, if you could develop that pill would be a hell of a lot more valuable than chemotherapy. So with that said, what does this actually look like if we're selling copywriting services? Some examples of dream outcomes that your prospects probably want would be double their lead flow, book their sales team's calendar full, increase their AOV by 30%, not dollars percent, double their LTV, add an extra 20 to 50K a month to their bottom line. Obviously, this depends on the client, what level they're at, but those are some examples. Now, how can we increase your perceived likelihood of achievement? Well, that is where proof comes into play. So if you have case studies, if you have testimonials, if you have a strong guarantee, maybe you have a discounted or even a free trial in exchange for a testimonial or a referral. Maybe you're willing to work on partial commission basis instead of a retainer only. All of these things decrease risk, which increases the perceived likelihood of achievement, therefore making your offer more valuable. Next, we have time delay. So what if instead of taking a week, 2 weeks, like most copywriters, you were able to complete the entire onboarding process within 24 hours? Logged into the ESP, you studied their past successful emails, you researched your ideal target avatar, you produced a 4 forces document that we talked about a few modules ago, you fixed their deliverability, they're landing in the primary inbox, install all the key automations, write a high converting welcome sequence, get them in the primary inbox and send out a spear email, which gets a ton of replies, books a ton of calls, and starts making them sales immediately within 24 hours. That would be super valuable, right? And then what if you ran a cash injection promo in the first 7 days? So you send a spear email to generate replies, book calls, make sales. You run a 2-day cash injection promo to, again, book more calls, make sales. Obviously depends on the client. If they're an e-com store, you're not going to be booking calls. You create the entire promotional calendar for the next 30 days, all done within a couple days. If I can let you in on one secret, it is that rich people love speed. They want shit done quickly, and they're happy to pay more if they can get things done faster. That is why they are rich, because they do shit quick. And then last, effort and sacrifice. All of this is 100% done for you. They don't have to lift a finger or push a button. All they need to do is take 30 minutes to fill out the onboarding form, and then maybe 5 minutes a week to send you some life updates and lessons that you can use for email content. And then you'll send them the monthly report that they can read in like 2 minutes on the toilet. Their total time investment for this is like 30 minutes up front, and then like 30 minutes a month after that. If you could do all of that and you could actually deliver on it, that would make your service so much more valuable. Look at these 4 components of the value equation and make it as valuable as possible. So with that said, that's all kind of surface level stuff. I want to take this a layer deeper and actually talk about what I call the Copy Millions Blueprint. So this is really the heart of my main program, my main system, where the name came from. And I promise, if you spend literally just 1 hour filling this out, your offer will pretty much sell itself. And you literally won't even have to be good at sales at all. You can just ignore the rest of this training. So here are the things that we want to get clear on. First, transformation. What is the actual transformation that you help your clients accomplish? Easy framework for this is I help niche business owner to yay, good thing, without boo, bad thing, even if blah, objection, reasons why they can't, etc. So, as an example, I help up-and-coming health supplement brands to double their email profits without increasing ad spend, even if they have a tiny list. Next is your mechanism. So this is going to be your unique mechanism, your system, your method, the thing that's going to set you apart from this sea of copywriters out there and make you different. Hint, hint, if you're different, you can position yourself in a category of 1 and you can justify charging a higher price. So, some examples of this that I've come up with and that my students have come up with. Please do not copy these, okay? They're just examples. You have a brilliant brain in that head of yours. Please use it and make your own. So, Gmail copywriting, that's obviously mine. My inbox detonator, that's from Ollie. My inbox concierge model. The investor acquisition formula. My pump framework, right? If you're working with fitness coaches, you could make some sort of fun acronym around that. My produce unlimited motherfucking profits framework. There you go, just making shit up. But that could be cool, right? The LTV maximizer, the AOV amplifier, the email hydra. Doesn't really matter what it's called. The point is that you give it a name so it sounds like something different. It's not just email copywriting, it's the email hydra. That's why it's different. That's why it works. That's why you failed in the past. That's why other copywriters suck, because they don't have the email hydra. That's the power of a unique mechanism. Now, if you're struggling to come up with a name, literally you can just throw some of these into ChatGPT and you can just say, hey, can you give me 10 similar names to this, and pick one that you like. Next, deliverables, i.e. what is actually in the box? What do they actually get when they sign up? What is your actual service? So, using email copywriting as an example for this, given that's what we've been talking about for this entire series, your actual tangible delivery might be for $2,000 a month. I am going to write and upload 6 emails every week delivered in a Google Doc at the start of the week. I'm going to build out a 4 Forces customer avatar for you. I'm going to build out a 30-day promotional calendar with a new 7-day cash injection promo every single month to generate profits. I'm going to give you my WhatsApp number to text me questions whenever you have them with a 24-hour response time and a 30-minute Zoom call a week if and as needed. Most clients probably won't want it, but you can have it there as an option. Or option 2, email marketing management. So instead of just doing broadcast emails like this one, this includes broadcast, automations, and deliverability. And instead of 2K a month, it's 3K a month. So that's everything from above, except the emails are written and sent out for them, 100% done for you. It's not delivered in a Google Doc. It's literally you log in, you send the emails, they don't have to touch a thing. You're going to handle all of their deliverability to ensure a minimum of 80% of emails land in the subscriber's primary tab. You're going to proactively manage their domain reputation, their IP reputation, and their list hygiene to remove inactive subscribers, protect their deliverability to ensure emails continue to land in primary. Or take it a step further, email marketing management plus social media management. So once again, everything from above, plus you're going to take that email that you wrote for them every day and you're going to convert that into a social media post. Shorten it a little bit, add a sexy hook to the beginning, bam, now you have a script for shorts, reels, TikToks. You have a post for Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. You're going to take it and you're going to post it to 3 platforms of the client's choosing. And obviously the client has to provide the images. Next component is a guarantee. Now, this is not 100% necessary, but it definitely will increase conversions, especially if you're a little bit new and unproven. So for example, you could say, I guarantee I'll double your investment within 30 days or your money back. And if you don't like money back guarantees, like me, then you could say, if I don't triple your investment in the first 30 days, I'll work with you at no additional cost until I do. Right? Those are just examples. You can make up literally whatever you want. It's your business. Pro tip though, make it fun. Add a little cherry on top. Just makes it more fun and interesting, spices it up. And really what it does is it humanizes you as well, right? So it takes it from this like big, scary investment to just more fun and human. It really just shows that there's another human being on the other end of this interaction. It lowers their guard, it makes it more personal, it makes it less serious. Overall, the stakes feel lower, and that ultimately increases conversions. So you could say, not only will I give you money back, or not only will I work for free until I make you X amount if I don't in the first 30 days, but I'll also throw in a pizza or my goldfish, or I'll buy dinner for you and your whole family, or I'll book you in for a massage at your nearest luxury day spa. Whatever it is, doesn't really matter. Most prospects are not going to take you up on this, but do be prepared to actually back it if you do promise it, okay? And last, we have one of the absolute most important components of your offer. That is going to be pricing. Now for email copywriting, this is almost always in the form of a monthly retainer, or sometimes a retainer plus a commission component. Now, pricing is without a doubt one of the most overlooked yet super important components of a business. It is a huge determining factor in how people actually perceive a brand. What's the difference between a $10 shirt from Kmart and a $600 shirt from Gucci? Nothing. The brand. The fact that it costs $600, people assume it must be amazing, even if it's the exact same shirt. But there's a trade-off, right? You price yourself too high, you might lose the deal. And if you price yourself too low, well, then you risk undervaluing yourself and your services. Now, here's a huge mistake that most beginner freelancers make. And that is most people will set their prices simply based on what their competitors are charging. And then they'll just kind of choose somewhere around the middle. The problem with that is that leaves you at the mercy of the market, and that allows you to be compared to literally all of the amateurs on Fiverr and Upwork who are charging like $10 for an email, $50 for a sales page. I'm telling you right now, I get at least one email every single day, which reads something along the lines of this. Good day, sir. I write very good copies. Please give me a job. You won't be disappointed. You laugh, but my inbox doesn't lie. Literally, this is your competition. Right here. Do you really want to be lumped in with these people when you're pitching your email copywriting services? Do you want your prospects comparing you to this guy? I don't think so. And you wonder why all of your prospects are saying, well, this guy on Upwork can do a sales page for $50. Why are you charging $5,000? It's because they perceive you to be selling the same service. So that is why having a unique mechanism is so important. Okay, because it means you're not a commodity and you can't be compared to Mr. Broke AF knee job, because what you do is different, right? That's the difference. So now you're in a category of one and you can price based on value instead of based on what everyone else is charging. Now, if you don't know how to price based on your value, a good rule of thumb to aim for is just to follow the rule of 10, which simply means aim to make your clients 10 times more than what you charge, i.e. charge 10% of what you think you can make them, up to 10 grand a month. So if you think you can make them $40,000 a month with your emails, then you could pretty comfortably charge $4K a month. And that's a pretty good deal. And if you have no idea how much you can make your client, then another good rule of thumb is $2 per subscriber per month. Or if you're doing social media stuff, then $1 per follower per month. This is assuming they have a targeted niche audience. Some lists will do much, much better than that. Mine averages probably around $4 to $5 per subscriber per month. Someone like Justin Goff does even like $30 to $40 per subscriber per month. But there'll be huge businesses out there with million-person lists who might only make like 10 cents per subscriber per month. Right? So there is a big range, but in general, my standard is around $2 per subscriber per month. So if they have a list of 20,000 people, then I would estimate I can probably make them at least $40,000 a month. Therefore, you could charge $4,000 a month. And if in doubt, the industry standard for a daily email, just the broadcast, not talking about list management or automation or deliverability or any of that stuff, just the emails themselves delivered in a Google Doc, is usually $2K a month USD. And for full scale email marketing management, where you write and send the emails for them, you take care of deliverability, automations, and so on, then typical industry standard is about $3K a month. So for 90% of people watching, I would just recommend you charge those prices. But your business, your rules. You can charge whatever you want. How much you charge is 100% your choice, and it doesn't have to stay the same. You can start lower if you want to, if you're not that confident, and you can simply increase your prices as you go. As you get more experience, as you produce better and better results, you get more testimonials, more case studies under your belt. As you grow and develop your skills, of course, your prices should increase over time. So these numbers might seem really high to you, they might seem really low to you. It's okay, it's just a general guideline. You can charge literally whatever you want, it's your business. Couple quick pro pricing tips I want to give you before we wrap this section up is I would highly recommend you have 2 options, no more, no less. The reason why is because having 2 options makes the decision for the prospect A or B rather than yes or no if you only had 1 option. Therefore, there's a higher likelihood that they'll end up choosing an option instead of just yes or no. Any more than 2 though, and you really do risk the prospect becoming just confused and overwhelmed and having too much to think about, and then you have to go away, and then you get the whole I need to think about it objection. It's like going to a restaurant and they just have a gazillion things on the menu and it's like, you just can't make up your mind, right? So when people are presented with too many options, they get paralysis by analysis and they typically choose to just do nothing, which is not really what we want. Now, second pro tip I'll give you on this is something that I don't see many people talking about. That is that rather than just having 2 options, like for example, you would have just broadcast emails for 2K a month or email marketing management for 3K a month, is to actually specifically engineer your offer and your prices to guide the prospect to actually choose your desired option. Let me give you an example. There are a ton of smart companies and industries which do this notoriously, most notably coffee and popcorn. So let's pretend you go to the cinemas, you go to the theater to watch your favorite movie. New Deadpool is out. Fucking incredible, by the way. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. Marvel really badly needed that W. And you're presented with 2 options. So you have a small box of popcorn for $5, or you have a large box of popcorn for $10. The $10 one is exactly double the size of the $5 one, which means it's not really a good deal. So in this situation, what you'll find is typically about 70% of people will choose the smaller option. However, check this out. So when we add in a middle option, depending on how that middle option is priced, will determine how many people choose which option. So if you introduce a middle option and you price it exactly halfway between the small and the large, now all of a sudden, the vast majority of people will choose the middle option. That just goes back to thousands of years of hardwiring. The human brain tends to perceive the middle option as the safe option. We don't want to stray too far to the left or the right for risk of making the wrong decision. And so most people will choose the middle. However, check this out. If instead of pricing it at $7.50, we actually price it at $9, now look what happens. Now all of a sudden, the $9 one seems like a really bad deal. And so you go, the small one's $5, medium one's $9. You're like, shit, just for an extra dollar, fuck it. I may as well get the big one. So when companies do this, what they found is that now all of a sudden, instead of 70% of people choosing the cheap option, 70% of people will choose the most expensive option. Just like that, pretty crazy. So that middle one there is something we call a decoy product. It's not actually there to make any sales at all. It's simply there to make the expensive option look like a better deal, so therefore more people choose it. So if you want to sell more of your expensive option, then you would use a popcorn pricing model and you would simply just make option 2 much more valuable for only a small increase in price. So you would cut out the bottom option there and you would literally just have the $9 one and the $10 one. So for example, rather than having your 2 options be email copywriting only for 2K a month or email marketing management for 3K a month, you would simply take the lower priced one, increase the price of it, maybe make it $2,500 and 3K. Now all of a sudden, 3K one seems like a much better deal. They're getting a lot more for only an extra $500. Therefore, most people are going to end up choosing that option. Aha, sneaky. But it gets better. Check this out. So if you want to sell more of your regular option, let's say, maybe a more expensive option is just like a lot of work and you don't want to do it and you'd rather just sell your base package. In that case, you could use the designer pricing model and simply make option 2 an anchor decoy to leverage the price anchoring effect. And you just do the complete opposite. So you make it much more expensive for only a small increase in value. Perfect example. Return of the Birkin handbag from 20 minutes ago. Designer stores are infamous for doing this. So if you ever walk into an ultra high-end luxury designer store, their absolute most expensive product as one of the first ones you see when you walk in the door. That is not by accident. That is because they want you to anchor that price as being the first price you see and think, holy shit, this is expensive. So you walk in, you see the $500,000 handbag and you go, fuck me, whoa, okay, I feel poor. But then afterwards you see the $8,000 handbag, that's actually pretty reasonable. Like in comparison to the 500K one, this one looks pretty much the same, right? Even though I'm sure we can all agree, $8,000 is a ridiculous amount of money to spend on a bag which literally holds things. Because the first one you saw was the 500K one, now all of a sudden you think it's actually a great deal. And so in this instance, the expensive one becomes the decoy and the cheaper one is the one that they actually want to make more sales of. Therefore, by adding that second decoy product and making it ultra expensive, they make more sales of the first bag than they otherwise ordinarily would. And that, my friend, is how companies all over the world trick you into buying more stuff. Now you know, so you can make smarter purchasing decisions and also use the same exact psychology on your prospects. So you too can make more money. You're welcome. Pricing tip number 3, that is going to be to add a cherry on top sign up bonus. All this is just an ethical way to add urgency and scarcity and actually encourage the prospect to buy right here, right now, today on the call. Not think about it, not wait, not delay 3 days. So you can say to the prospect on the call, hey, you know, from experience working with business owners in your space, the people who are decisive, who make decisions quickly, end up being the best clients. We do the best work together and they get the best results. And those are the type of people I love working with because they're savages. So as a shameless bribe, if you join right here, right now, today, then I'm actually going to go ahead and write you a free welcome nurture sequence for your email list, which I would normally charge $1,000 for. Totally free if you sign up today. Incentivizing them to not delay and just sign up on the spot. So some examples of what you could do for this. You could do a welcome sequence, unsubscribe automation to remove the inactive subscribers, ban in cart sequence, browse abandonment sequence, landing page rewrite, the type of thing you would normally charge $500 to $1,000 for. Throw it in for free if they join today. And then number 4, lucky last, is the secret downsell menu. So back in the last module, we talked about downselling to get people on a call by identifying a very specific problem that they have in their funnel, using that as ammunition to book a call. And then you talk about how to solve that very specific problem. Then you book the second call and then you upsell them into your main email marketing retainer service, which is what we're doing here. However, sometimes not everyone is going to be able to afford your big main expensive thing. They might not trust you. They might not have the budget, whatever it is. It's always a good idea to have a couple downsells in your back pocket so you can close the deal, you can build some trust, you can provide results, then you can upgrade them into your full-blown retainer after that. So some examples. Instead of doing $2,000 a month for emails, you could do just a 1-week trial for $500. Maybe they have a small list and they don't want to do a daily email because they can't justify spending $3,000 a month when their list is like 500 people. Well, start with 3 emails a week instead of 7. And then as they make more money, you can increase the sending frequency over time. Or as a last resort, you could literally just start with one simple automation, like a welcome sequence, just to get your foot in the door, impress them, make them money, show them you know your stuff. Then you can have the conversation around upgrading them into a full retainer. Last bit, to wrap this up, if you have not read this book already and you want to be an entrepreneur, don't even know what you're doing with your life, go ahead and read this damn thing, $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi. Yes, I said I was an affiliate of Alex Hormozi. That was only a one-time thing, okay? No, I don't get any cut of his book sales, all right? Friend to friend, entrepreneur to entrepreneur. It's a damn good book. Order the book, read the book. With that said, that is part 1, offer and price. Tick, done and dusted. We spent a lot of time on it because once again, it is the most important component of this entire thing. If you get this bit right, the rest will be so much easier. With that said, let's talk about what do we do before the call. Let's lay some groundwork. There are 3 very simple and affordable pieces of software that you are going to need to do this process, to book and conduct your calls and to actually take payments. Calendly, Zoom, and Stripe. You may or not have used these before, so if you haven't, I'm just going to quickly explain each one and the settings that I recommend using. Cool. So firstly, Calendly. Very simple. It is a call scheduling software. This saves the time going back and forth saying, I'm available Tuesday, 4 p.m. PST. No, I can't do that day. Can you do Thursday morning, UK time, 9 a.m., whatever, blah, 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 right? It's annoying. So simply lets them book into your calendar, removes all the back and forth, removes all the time zone nonsense. And also it lets you ask qualifying questions and send reminder emails and texts, which is super useful. The free plan is pretty good, but I do recommend the $10 a month paid plan. At least it's $10 right now. Maybe it's more by the time you're watching, I don't know. As that will allow you to send reminder emails and texts, which will really help with your show up rate. It's hard enough to book calls as it is. Worst thing is when people don't actually show up to the calls that they booked. We all know that. So sign up. Fill out your basic settings, time zone, profile picture, etc. Pro tip with the availability, I interviewed Alex Hormozi on this, who owns a call scheduling company, Alan, which has booked millions of calls over years. So they have the data to support this. When it comes to availability, you want to set as many slots as possible for about 3 days out. You can go as many as 5 days, but really 3 days is the sweet spot. The reason being is you want to give people the flexibility to book in when it suits them, specifically busy business owners. You want to appeal to people with a wide variety of time zones, but you don't want people booking out too far in the future because the further out they book, the more likely they are to forget about it and then not show up. So you're going to create a new event type, 45 minutes, use these settings. Now, I'm assuming, once again, your service is email copywriting. So you're going to ask for their name, their email. What is the average monthly revenue now? Where do you want it to be in 6 months? Approximately how much of your current monthly revenue is generated from email? How big is your list, roughly? What is the price point of your main offer or offers? What is your average open rate and click-through rate? if unknown, leave blank, because maybe people don't know, and you don't want that to be an obstacle of them booking the call because they feel like an idiot, and then so it's easier to not book, right? So that's the only one which I don't make mandatory. Number 8, what is the number one reason you think you haven't been able to achieve your target revenue yet? Let them justify it to you. Number 9, is there anything in particular you'd like us to cover on the call? Are you the sole decision maker, or do you have a business partner? This will allow us to overcome the "I need to talk to my business partner" objection. So yes, I'm the sole business owner and I make all decisions for my business, or no, I have a business partner and they'll be joining us on the call. Very important. And then lastly, number to send text message reminders to. Last thing you're going to do is go to integrations and connect your Zoom account and your Google and your Apple calendar so you can see the calls when they're booked. Speaking of Zoom, number 2 is Zoom. In case you somehow haven't used this before, Zoom is an industry standard video call software like Skype, but way better. It's 100% free, up to 40 minutes of calls, and it's $14 a month for the basic plan. I do highly recommend that you invest the $14 into the paid tier so you don't lose a $36,000 deal like Ollie. True story. One of my students, Ollie, was on a Zoom call with a client. He was literally about to close the deal. Like the guy was about to pay, sign up, join, $3,000 a month retainer. Ollie had the free plan of Zoom. The call cut out. Client was busy, fucked off, went on to his next thing. Ollie couldn't get a hold of him, and that was that. Never heard back from the guy. Just like that. 3K a month deal lost. That is 36 grand over the course of a year because he had the free tier of Zoom and didn't want to pay $14 for the paid version. Don't be like Ollie. Don't trip over 36K to save $14, okay? Please learn from his mistakes. Moment of silence for our friend Ollie. Next, fill out all your basic settings, time zone, profile picture, etc. Now, when it comes to sound, video, lighting, all that stuff, you don't need a super ultra high-end professional setup like what I have. I think there's like 10 grand of equipment in this room, not including these DJ decks, which are another 10 grand. So keep it simple, but you do need a couple basic things that I'm gonna go over here. So first, I highly recommend you do buy a microphone. It does not have to be a good microphone, just any microphone is better than no microphone. Both the Blue Snowball and the Blue Yeti are fantastic budget options. They'll set you like 50 to 100 bucks, not even. More important is just to do the call somewhere quiet with no distractions. And ideally not in a room with tiles or super echoey surfaces that'll make you sound really reverby and washed out. Video, you just want a 720p webcam or higher. Most laptops nowadays that are good will have a built-in good quality webcam you can use. If not, you can buy one and attach it to whatever your setup is. Doesn't have to be ultra high end, just make sure you don't look like a potato. Way more important, honestly, is the lighting. I recommend you buy a basic key light or a ring light or just something to light your face, some sort of light source. If you don't have one, use a regular lamp. The worst thing you can have is no light in front of you and you do the call in front of a window or something and you're literally just a silhouette. Just to show you how much of a difference lighting makes, I'm gonna turn off the lights in front of me, and it's kind of shit. It kind of makes me look a bit amateur, a bit sketch, a bit dark, a bit creepy, a bit red, a little bit like a Martian. Do yourself and your prospect a favor, let them see that beautiful face of yours, okay? And last, this kind of goes without saying, but just make sure you have a clean background. Don't do the call in a fucking super dirty room where you have a bunch of clothes on the floor, and pick a simple, clean, elegant background. A white wall is totally fine, but presentation matters, okay? People do judge a book by its cover, like it or not. So look good, sound good. You don't have to be a pro level streamer, but just don't be a slob, okay? That's all I'm trying to say. Last bit of tech that we need to set this up is very simple. We need a way to accept money. Otherwise, it's gonna be really hard to get paid. So I'm gonna recommend for 99% of people watching that you use Stripe. It is an industry standard payment processor, lets you invoice and take payments. It's free to use. They just take a 3% plus 30 cents per transaction. Set up an account, fill out all the basic settings, and then just customize your invoice template. You can add in your logo, some branding stuff, and all the basic stuff in the billing settings. So that way you're ready to go, start sending invoices. This will allow clients to pay with their card, and then that way you can put them on recurring auto bill, so they pay $2,000, $3,000 every month. They don't have to manually bank transfer you. It just happens automatically on autopilot, easier for everyone. And if you live in a place like India where there's no Stripe available, then you can use an alternative like Square, Payoneer, Wise through international transfers. Tons of options. Just use whatever makes the most sense for you. Congrats! You're ready to make some money. Or are you? Not so fast, my friend, because we need to talk about the old versus the new customer journey. Understand, the typical customer journey has changed a lot in the last few years. There have been multiple consumer behavior studies done which have concluded that human-to-human trust is currently the lowest it has ever been, and it is just getting lower and lower every day. People are more skeptical than ever before. Most people have been burned at least once. They've had at least one bad experience online with a freelancer, with a coach, with someone who's overpromised and underdelivered. And the reality is we live in an economy where trust is at an all-time low. So being able to just jump on the phone and close someone, it's not enough anymore. The old way that it used to work, before the rise of the guru sphere and all that stuff, right, is someone would see an ad, they would click the ad, they would book a call, and they would buy or not buy. But it was very simple. It was a straight line, one direction, see a stimulus, which is your ad, your email, whatever. The first moment of truth would be when they buy your thing. Second moment of truth is when they experience your thing. And that's how it used to work. It was very simple. It was very easy. But times have changed. The new buyer's journey introduces something called Google and online reviews, which was not around 20 years ago, which adds an extra step. So instead of see an ad, book a call, show up, buy, it's someone will see an ad, they'll see an email, they'll probably ignore it. 2 weeks go by, they see another ad, they see another email, they say, huh, that's interesting. Let me Google this guy. They look at Trustpilot, Reddit, look at reviews, look at your website, maybe go check out your YouTube, watch a couple videos, ignore it, come back later, check you out on Instagram, maybe they join your email list, read a couple emails, then maybe they book a call and buy something, right? But there's a lot more steps than there used to be. So back in 2011, Google actually introduced this concept of what we call the zero moment of truth. So instead of just being the first moment of truth, which is when someone buys your thing, that's basically where they discover the actual truth, right? The second moment of truth is when they experience the thing and learn, is it actually good or not? But before that is the zero moment of truth, as Google calls it, which is the moment that someone actually decides to research you, to actually look you up online. Think about it. Before you make any major purchase, or before you even just decide what restaurant to go to, most people will Google it. They'll look at reviews, and then based on those reviews, they'll choose whether to go to the restaurant or not. And a decade later, since Google introduced that concept of the zero moment of truth, they have come out with a new, very interesting finding that they call the 7-11-4 rule. So Google obviously has quite a lot of data on literally everything to back this up. And they found through studying millions of purchases online that typically, on average, before someone makes a buying decision, they will need to consume 7 hours of content across 11 different touch points on 4 different platforms before making a purchase decision. That's quite a lot. So in other words, people are deciding whether or not to buy before they get on the call, not on the call. Major difference. This is the case online, this is the case offline. If you look at the data from 2011 and the years that follow, since the zero moment of truth idea was kind of developed, you can see very clearly that back in 2011 and prior, a good majority of people would simply walk into a store, decide what they want to buy, and then make it a buying decision in the store. But the more time that goes on, you can see that people are researching online. They're making that buying decision first online. They're deciding what is they're going to buy based on reviews, based on videos, based on marketing. Then they're simply going into the store to pick it up. And it's the same thing when it comes to making purchases online. It's the same thing when it comes to booking calls. People are no longer booking calls to decide if they want to work with you. They are not booking calls until they've decided they want to work with you for the most part. So there's been a lot of panic in the coaching industry over the last sort of 6 months as a lot of coaches, agencies, all of us have kind of realized like, man, it's so much tougher to make a sale compared to, let's say, the pandemic where it was literally like shooting fish in a barrel. You could literally just say like, hey, I have a course. And someone would be like, wow, that's amazing. Here's my credit card. It was so easy. But now it's like, man, it's tough. Like people are much more skeptical and much more hesitant. They've usually been burned a few times before. And building that trust is so much harder than it used to be. So there's a common misconception in the online space that people are spending less money than they used to be, let's say back in the pandemic. But a friend of mine, Taki, he has a friend who runs a massive consumer behavior research company. They found that people are not spending less money at all. People are simply making smarter buying decisions, meaning they're doing their research before buying stuff. So the $1 million question is, are you a smart buying decision? Something to think about. So with that said, here's how to actually leverage Google's 7-11-4 rule to land more clients. If you're thinking to yourself, shit, 7 hours of content, 11 touch points, 4 different platforms. I don't even have 7 hours of content for people to consume. Well, that's a bit of a problem. You should probably start putting some content on the internet. Some ways that you can do that as a freelancer is lead magnets, social posts, your website, testimonials, case studies, explain a video of what you do, mini VSL, sending the prospect personalized Loom videos, sending them personal emails, follow-ups, pre-call nurture sequence, pre-call reminder emails, pre-call SMS, personalized reach outs. Those are all different touch points that help you build that much needed trust with the prospect. So I know you want to talk about the script and the call and what do I say and blah, blah, blah. Before you jump on a call, there are a few things that you can and absolutely should do to maximize your show up rate and your close rate. Let's talk about those right now. So the industry standard, what is considered a good show up rate is typically about 70%. However, in my company, we're able to get consistent 80 to 90% show up rates with a few simple tweaks. And Margot Robbie here perfectly alludes to the first one on the list, which is to position the meeting as something they actually want to show up for. So if you remember the scene from The Wolf of Wall Street, Margot Robbie is trying to seduce Jordan Belfort to go back to her place. Do you think if Margot Robbie is inviting you to go over to her place to not be friends, that she needs automated email reminders, SMSs, follow-up messages? Fuck no, dude. She needs absolutely none of that. If you are a straight male and Margot Robbie invites you to her place, 100% of the male population are going to her house. Why? Because they want to. And that is the first secret. So this is the CMB 80% show up rate checklist. And the first one on the list, as I've just alluded to, is to frame the call correctly. You need to frame the call in such a way that it's actually positioned as a valuable use of their time, so they actually want to show up for the call. So rather than relying on all these tricks and reminders, we simply position the thing itself as something they actually want, and then, mind blowing, people actually show up. So in order to see the actual exact wording of how we do that, jump back a module, watch the video. I explain that all in detail in there. So rather than just saying like, hey man, do you want to jump on a call? Like, no one wants to jump on a call with you. Just like you don't want to jump on a call with random strangers and get sold shit. No one wants to jump on a call with you and get sold shit either. People know a call means a sales call. So of course they don't want to show up. So you need to position the call itself as being something different. That is why I like to word it like this. Hey, do you want to jump on a quick 30-minute chat and see if we can map out a plan to help you solve specific problem you were talking about? And if you want to hire me to implement the plan, then you're totally welcome to. Otherwise, if you want to tell me to get lost, that's totally fine, but I'm still going to give you the plan anyway. So this way, the prospect actually feels like the call is going to be a good use of their time to show up and chat with a stranger for 20 to 30 minutes. Second is your availability. Like we talked about, you want to have a lot of slots for the next 3 days and then pretty much nothing after that. Next is your Calendly, email, and SMS reminders. I'd recommend you set these inside of Calendly to be 24 hours, 4 hours, and about 10 minutes. Because people get busy and they forget, just like you. And then last is just manual reminders. Like before the call, reach out to the prospect with a quick message, send the Zoom link for the call, say, hey Sam, excited to chat tomorrow and help you to map out a plan to get you out of spam. Here's the link for the call. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. PST. Link. Adding that personalized touch point goes a long way. And you don't have to stop there. You can send testimonials. Hey, I just got this from a client this morning. They just made 30K with my recent email campaign. Can't wait to do the same for you. Send them a quick voice message. Send them a helpful article or a resource. Send them a personalized relevant meme. If the call was booked for, let's say, 3 days out, I'd recommend you send one of these every day leading up to the call. And if the call is scheduled for the next morning, I would reach out with something like this the afternoon or evening before. And if the call is in the afternoon, then just reach out the morning of. So that's show up rates. Let's talk about maximizing close rates. Now, ideally, if you've been paying attention, you would realize that maximizing your close rate starts a long time before the call is even booked, if you remember the 0 moment of truth. Now, the industry standard for what's considered a good close rate is typically around 30%. However, again, we're able to get consistent 60 to 65% close rates because of our strong positioning and our reputation for delivering results. And that is not a hack. That is not a shortcut. That is not something you can fake. That is not something you can whip up in 10 seconds. That is 6 years of serving hundreds of clients and providing incredible results to the point where if you Google my name and Google Sean Ferres review and you go to open source sites like Reddit and Trustpilot where people can write whatever they want, you will actually find only good things said from people who have actually worked with me. Unlike most coaches, when you Google them, you will not find very good things on those sites. And that's not an accident. It's because I actually fucking care about my client results. And I've spent 6 years working my ass off to develop a product that is incredible, that produces results. So side note, spend time working on your skill so that your reputation precedes you. Therefore, your clients will close very easily because they already decided that they're going to work with you before they get on the call. That's the goal. Having said that though, there are a couple tactical things that we can do to pre-sell our prospects before the call. So what I recommend you do before the call is to set up a pre-call nurture sequence. Nice and simple, 3 emails. Email 1 is you're going to share a case study that is most similar to their situation. If you have one, if you have a story of a client you've worked with who was in a similar position to them and got a similar result that they wanted, 1,000,000% send that to them in an email. If you don't have any, just share any and all testimonials that you have. And if you don't have any testimonials, jump back a few modules where we talk about how to get those testimonials. Or work with a client on a free trial for a week, get them a result, then you can use that as a case study. Email 2, send them one super valuable tip or strategy that they can use to make some money with their list. This is really just to show them that you're an expert, that you know what you're talking about, kind of gives them a glimpse of what it's like to work with you. And then email 3, this is to answer some common questions and crush all their objections before the call, and it's framed like an FAQ email. So some examples, some common objections and things that your prospects might believe that you're going to have to overcome in order to get them to buy would be, for example, some people think that email is dead. Right? They get on the call thinking email's dead, your chances of closing them are pretty low. So you want to shift their paradigm before they even get on the call. So on the call, you can really just focus on their needs and then pitching your services to meet those needs. So you might say, email is dead. Well, actually the truth is, studies show people check their emails more often than all social media platforms combined, which is actually true. Look it up. And insert a relevant, credible study so you have some actual proof. Number 2, I have a small list. Hey, a lot of people think that they can't make money with email because they only have a list of 500 or 1,000 people. Well, the truth is, if you sell something that's high ticket and even just 1% of your list buys, that's a lot of money to be made. And by the way, as a side note, if you have a small list and you sell only low ticket products, you will not make a lot of money. So I would just avoid working with those clients. Number 3, I tried email and it didn't work. Well, hey, that's probably because your copywriter didn't follow the best deliverability practices or use a proven promo calendar. And because I use the email hydra method or whatever your mechanism is, the results that I get are very different from most copywriters. Another one, hey, this sounds really complicated. I don't think I have the time to figure this out. And you say, well, that's exactly why I handle this for my clients. 100% done for you because they're all busy business owners too. Just some examples there. You don't have to use those. Write your own ones. So in terms of logistically, how do you actually send these emails out? I would simply just set it up in Instantly or even just Gmail, like in G Suite, you can pre-schedule emails to send every 12 to 24 hours before the call. So let's say they booked the call for 2 days away. Well, you would schedule email 1 to send straight away. You would schedule email 2 to send 12 hours later. And you would schedule email 3 to send about 12 hours later after that. So that way they receive all 3 of them before the call, not too far apart where one of them doesn't get sent and not too close together where it's a bit spammy and annoying. So however far they book the call in advance, just divide that by 3 and then send the 3 emails at those 3 points. Now, 5 minutes before your call, here's what I'm going to recommend you do. You want to pull up your closing script on your phone, your laptop, computer, second monitor, whatever you have, maybe print it out somewhere where you can see it, you can refer to it, you can read it. You really don't want to be reading too much, especially if it's a Zoom call with video on, which is what I recommend for these calls. But it's definitely handy to have it there as a guideline, as a framework to keep you on track and stop you spiraling off to Pluto. Then you can open these 4 tabs in your browser. Number 1 is Calendly with their question answers open. Number 2 is your swipe email with their emails on screen so you can refer to them on the call. Number 3 is a Stripe invoice with a new subscription window and their name and email pre-filled, substantive close. And then number 4 is a new Google Doc with their email revenue forecasting tool, like I talked about a couple modules ago, pre-filled with their numbers and your 2 offers. So that way, when you're pitching them, when you're walking them through the offer, you can actually walk them through a document rather than just talk. So that way it's much easier to follow along. So this will make the call and the close run a lot more smoothly. It'll also show that you just have your shit together, right? Which will give them a glimpse of what it's actually like to work with you. And finally, 60 seconds before the call, jump up and down, do some push-ups, do some star jumps, get yourself in a good state, nice and fired up. You want to smile, take a deep breath, let go of any and all attachment to making the sale. Remember, you are here to see if you can help them. You're only here to pitch them if it makes sense. And remember, they need this a lot more than you do. They're the one with the problem. You're the one just simply seeing if you can help them out. So there's no need to be nervous. There's no need to be anxious. And there's no need to be needy or desperate because your life is just fine with or without them. But without you, they're still going to have a promo tab problem, a spam problem. Their business is going to be suffering. Their business is not going to be growing. They need this more than you do. So don't you worry that pretty little head of yours. You got this. With that said, the groundwork has been laid. We can get to the real juicy part, the meat of this training, the thing we all came for. Owning the call. When it comes to the actual call, what do we do? What do we say? What is the magic script? Patience, Iago. We'll get there in a second. Understand, every sales conversation is different. There's no perfect closing script, okay? There's a million and one ways to structure a sales call. Every sales guru has their own unique selling process, and they all work fine. So, yes, I am going to give you my proven script, as I promised, but more importantly, I want to teach you the fundamentals so you won't have to actually rely on a script forever. You want to think of a script kind of like training wheels. You need it at the beginning, but after a certain point, you've done enough calls where you shouldn't really need it anymore. So at its core, every sales conversation is going to follow some version of this general framework. First, you're going to set the agenda. This is where you take control of the conversation and you cover the agenda of the call. So you're going to say, hey, so on this call, I want to do 3 very simple things. I want to talk about where you're at, where you want to go, what's stopping you. We're going to put together a bit of a game plan. And then if at the end you want to actually hire me to implement the game plan for you, we can talk about that. And if not, that's totally fine as well. Sound good? Boom. Done. On to the next bit. So then is the discovery phase, right? So this is where you are asking questions and trying to gather information in order to learn about their needs, diagnose and uncover the problem, and then you can then make your pitch. And then, if it makes sense, you can present your pitch in such a way where it actually meets their needs. So we're going to talk about where are they now, where do they want to go, what's stopping them, what have they tried. This is really the majority of the sales call, and they should pretty much be doing 90% of the talking. At this point, we're going to identify and label their problems. You're going to feed and summarize everything that they've told you. You're going to say, okay, so to me, it sounds like there are really 3 major problems here. The first one is an inconsistent sending schedule. You're only emailing your list when you have something to sell. That's probably why they're not very responsive. The second problem is you have a major deliverability issue with most of your emails going to the promo tab. So most of your subscribers aren't even seeing your emails. And then the third problem is you don't have a promotional calendar, meaning you're pretty much pissing into the wind, haphazardly pitching stuff here and there, and you don't really have any set structure of when to nurture your list and give value versus when to actually make the ask and make sales. So you label them with a problem. And that, of course, implies that they need a solution. So from there, you're going to ask for permission to pitch. Okay, you should never just start pitching someone out of the blue. You always want the prospect to ask you for it, okay? So you're going to say something along the lines of, hey, so is it cool if I run you through some things that I would personally do if I was in charge of this list? And then at the end, if you want to hire me to do that, that's cool. And if not, that's totally fine. I'll still give you the game plan and then you can go off and hire someone else to do it. They say yes, that is them giving you permission to pitch them. You are then going to pitch your services. You're going to handle any objections that might come up. And assuming they're in, you're going to collect the cash, you're going to onboard them, you're going to give next steps. Now that is the general gist of how the sales call is going to go. And I want you to remember, burn this into the inside of your brain, the golden rule of sales. If the prospect feels like you understand them better than they understand themselves, they will automatically assume you have the solution. It is totally illogical if you think about it, but it is just how we're wired. So imagine you walk into a doctor and you're like, hey man, so my left elbow really hurts. I have this weird cough in the morning. And then like every 3 days, my stomach has crazy cramps. And he goes, interesting. Yeah, I've actually seen that before. I'm willing to bet that, tell me, when you lift your right shoulder, does it really hurt in this middle part here? And you go, wow, holy shit. Yeah, it does. Like, how did you know that? That's crazy. In that situation, you assume, obviously the doctor knows what the problem is and therefore has the solution. Technically, those are 2 completely different things, but it's what we assume. Therefore, the goal of sales isn't to pitch your thing. It's not to talk. Sales isn't at all about selling. It is about asking the right questions and listening. If you are talking more than your prospect, you are doing something horribly wrong. And on the topic of doctor, let's talk about 3 key principles we want to keep in mind to make this work. First principle here, when it comes to closing, is doctor versus patient. You are the expert. They're the one with the problem who needs help. Remember that. That is the frame that you need to operate through. So your job as the doctor, as the expert, is to diagnose and prescribe. Therefore, you are the man with the plan, or the woman with the plan. Which leads me to principle number 2. You are in the driver's seat. You're in control of this call. You're leading the interaction. You're the one asking the questions. And you need to set this tone in the very beginning of the interaction. In literally the first 30 seconds of the call, you need to take control, you need to take the lead, and you need to start asking the questions, getting them to follow, and establish yourself as the leader. You're setting the cadence for you lead, they follow. You ask, they answer. You must stay in control of the call. If you lose control of the call, if the prospect starts asking you questions, if they start asking you to prove yourself, if they start asking you, hey, tell me about your experience. Hey, who have you done this for? Hey, how do I know if you can bring me results? You're not closing that call. You've lost. You lose the frame, you lose control, you lose the sale. How do you know who's in control? It's the person asking the questions. You want that person to be you. Principle number 3, Don Draper detachment. Chose this not only because it's beautiful alliteration, but also I believe Don Draper was based on the godfather of advertising himself, Mr. David Ogilvy. In any case, they're both total badasses. And here's what I want you to keep in mind on the call, is that the person who cares least about the outcome in any negotiation typically wins. Think about it. If someone's trying to pitch you on something and they really care, and you're kind of a bit indifferent, you hold all the power. Because that means a lot to them, and it doesn't really mean a lot to you. That's what we want. And on the flip, as I said before, the person who cares most about the prospect wins. The truth is, people can smell what I like to call commission breath from a mile away. If you're needy, if you're desperate, if you really want the sale, if you really need it and you're just trying to hard sell them, you're just trying to tell them what they want to hear so that you can make a sale. People are smart. They can sense that. It's really repulsive. So the best way to not come across like that is to actually not need the sale, is to let go of all attachment to making the sale. Your life is fine right now. Before the prospect came into your life was totally good. After the prospect leaves your life will still be totally good. Will they add some value to your life if they decide to work with you and pay you $3,000 a month? Yeah, for sure. But who's going to benefit more? You making $3,000 a month or them making $30,000 a month from you writing their emails? Exactly. So yes, we want to take control of the call and be in the lead, but detach yourself from the outcome and just understand whatever happens, happens. So with that said, let's talk about some of the most common mistakes that newbies make when they're trying to close the deal. 9 sales killers. And of course, this wouldn't be a sales training without as many Wolf of Wall Street references as possible. Or maybe I'm just shamelessly trying to hold your attention by showing you multiple pictures of Margot Robbie. You'll never know. Gotta make this video interesting somehow. Sales killer number 1, letting the prospect control the call. We've just talked about it, but if they're asking the questions, they're leading the interaction, you are fighting an uphill battle the entire way. It's gonna be very difficult to overcome. You're probably not gonna close the sale. Sales killer number 2 is talking too much. You should be doing much less than half of the talking, really only like 20%. Most salespeople just want to talk about how good their product and service is, and they just talk the prospect's ear off, pitch them, not even realizing what's actually important to the prospect and what's not. Because I hate to break it to you, your prospect does not give a flying fuck about your offer. They only care about the result that you can get for them. So in order to properly pitch your service, you need to learn what that actual result is that they actually care about. Then you can pitch it in such a way where they actually care. So what we want is gap selling, not product presentation. Okay, when I say gap selling, I mean, where are they now? Where do they want to be? What's getting in the way? Then you position your product as the bridge to go from where they are now to where they want to go. Sales killer number 3, applying Band-Aid to their wound. As Jordan Belfort would say, applying balm to the wound. It's the same thing. What this basically means is a lot of people on the call will typically downplay the problem of the prospect, and they'll make the person feel like it's really not that bad. They'll say like, oh, so right now you're making 40K from your email list. Well, that's actually pretty good, man. Most people like barely make 10K a month from their list if they even have one. So like, you're doing pretty well. We don't want to say any of that, okay? If you make the person feel like their problem isn't that bad, they're going to temporarily feel like they don't need help, which guess what? Means they're not going to hire you. And this is really hard to do, especially for someone like me who's a coach, is coaching on the call. So we want to help the person, we want to share our knowledge and our wisdom and our information, and we want them to get an amazing outcome because, once again, I truly care. So it can be really hard to do this, but you cannot coach on the call. Not only are you depriving yourself of the sale because you're actually solving their problem and then therefore their problem is solved and they don't need to hire you, but also you're not actually helping them because, again, when you help people for free, they don't value the information, and like literally 1% of people will actually take action on it, meaning you're not actually helping them at all. Collect money from them and then help them. Your only job on the call is to uncover their problem, let them see the solution, let them understand the gap between where they are and where they want to go, understand how your service can help them get there, shift the perspective in their head and let them come to that conclusion that they need your product. That is your job. So do not coach on the call. You want to give them the high level overview of what to do, but not the nitty gritty how to step by step. You're only there to ask questions, confirm the answers, identify problems, and prescribe solutions. Sales killer number 4 is just trying too hard to twist a knife. What I mean by twist a knife is agitate their pain point. So this is kind of the opposite of the one I just mentioned. What a lot of salespeople will do is they'll overtly paint the person's problem to be much worse than it is. And all this really does is, 1, it's really obvious, and 2, it comes off desperate and disingenuous. Like you're really just trying to make the problem seem worse than it is so you can make the sale. So I'll give you an example. I was on a closing call recently myself, and I was buying a 20K agency package. I ended up buying anyway because, once again, Google 7-11-4 rule, I decided I was in before I even booked the call. But on the call, the sales rep was going through my numbers. He was like, what's your close rate? What's your show up rate? And I was like, they're both really good. Like our close rate's like 65%. Our show up rate is 80 to 90%. We had 1 month that was 70%, but on the whole, it's like 90%. And so at the end, when he is like pitching me on his thing, he's like, oh, well, dude, right now your show up rates are only 70%. Your close rates are only like 50%. And like you have all these problems. And I was like, no, like you're not listening. Like I told you my show up rate and my close rate are really good. They're really high. They're not the problem. Our problem is call volume, just call volume, nothing else. Every other number, show up, close, client results, it's all incredible. Just call volume is the problem. So by him stretching that gap wider than it actually was and saying 70% because of my 170% month was a big turnoff, because I'm like, dude, you're trying too hard to make the problem worse than it really is. Which honestly just made me feel like he was not listening and he didn't really care and he was just here to get his commission. Once again, I bought the offer anyway because it was incredible, but that one minor thing did kind of piss me off. That guy should have known better. Sales killer number 5, that is poor tonality. We're going to talk a whole lot about tonality in just a second, but the biggest thing I want you to understand is that how you say something is much more important than what you say. We're going to get into that soon. Number 6, hard selling. This is pretty obvious, but it really violates principle number 1 and principle number 3 above. If we think about it, like we're trying to be a doctor and we want to be Don Draper, and also we want to be detached from the outcome. If we're hard selling them, like imagine going to a doctor's office and he's just like, dude, this new brand of Nurofen dropped and you fucking need this, man. Let me tell you, your knee is going to be so sore if you don't take this Nurofen. And like this Nurofen is like so good at like may as well cure cancer. And like if you buy today, I'll give you 2 for 1 and a 30% discount. And if you buy in the next 6 minutes, I'll even give you a lifetime supply for 10% off. So like, what do you think? Here's the order form, like buy now. Like you need to buy now. You'd be like, whoa, dude, like chill the fuck out. Like what are you talking about, right? If you're hard selling anyone on anything, it looks super desperate and it completely ruins the frame of you supposedly being an expert. Pretty obvious, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. And really, like the decision to buy needs to be the prospect's decision, not your decision. They can't feel pushed into it, because here's what happens. Like even if you do manage to convince them to make the sale, like they begrudgingly buy, they're not going to feel good about it. You're not going to feel good about it. It's not going to be a good client relationship. They're probably going to end up refunding or frankly just going straight to their bank and issuing a chargeback. So simply put, we want seduction, not rape. On the flip though, a mistake that I probably see even more often than hard selling is the complete opposite, which is not asking for the sale. I see so many freelancers do this. Like they'll make their product presentation, they'll answer all the questions, they'll do all the stuff. The client's like, cool, sounds good, I'm in. And then the freelancer goes, oh, cool, yeah, I'll send you the details in an invoice, I'll send you an email later and then we can get started. The person's like, yeah, awesome, yeah, I'll sign up later. And I'm just like, ugh, dude, facepalm. Like, hate to break it to you, but that person is not coming back. Sometimes they do, yes. But the majority of the time, if you get off the call, you don't actually close them on the call, every hour that passes is less and less likely that they're actually going to sign up and buy. So after pitching your services, you need to actually close. What that means is collecting the payment and signing the contract. So do not let them off the call with just a verbal agreement, with just a, yeah, sounds good, I'll sign up tomorrow. Yeah, sounds good. Send me some more information, then I'll sign. No, that's not a close. Close is you've collected the money, right? Let's be very clear. Mistake number 8, winging it. If you want to close a client, by far the best way you can knock their socks off, really maximize your chances of closing them, is to actually come to the call with a plan. Write out a detailed custom email marketing game plan for them as if they were already a paying client. Hey, if I was in charge of email marketing of your company, here's exactly what I would do. Step 1. We're going to dial into deliverability, fix your spam and promo tab problem using these automations and these strategies. Step 2, we're going to set up these key automations, welcome sequence, browse abandonment sequence, unsubscribe sequence to clean your list. Step 3, I'm going to fill out the 4 forces, get really clear in a customer avatar. Step 4, we're going to put together a promotional calendar so we have a clear 30-day content plan. Step 5, we're going to run a cash injection sequence to make you 20K in the first 7 days. Step 6, we're going to start sending out regular broadcast emails every day to your list. Step 7, blah, 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 blah. I promise you, almost nobody actually does that. If you get on the call and you say that and you actually have a plan for them, they are going to be so mind blown. They're going to be like, wow, finally, someone who actually knows what the fuck they're doing. Just coming to the call with a system and KPIs. And here's the metrics that we aim to hit in the first 7 days, 30 days, 60 days. Here are all the goals we want to achieve with the time frames for each one. That shows you're a professional. FYI, we actually did this on a one-on-one Zoom call with one of my top-level resistance guys. We helped them land a $500 million whale client by putting together a plan just like this. He got on the call with the head of marketing, walked into the plan, and they were literally so impressed with the plan, they just hired him right there on the spot. Be the man with the plan. Number 9 is no belief in what you're selling. Remember, Sales is a transfer of conviction. If you don't even believe in what you're selling, how the fuck could you expect a prospect to believe in what you're selling? This is why honing your skills, working on your craft, getting better at copy, practicing and studying every day is so important. Because the best way to appear confident is to actually be confident, to actually know what you're doing. So yes, absolutely, fake it till you make it. But be working on your skills, be actually confident in the thing you deliver, and that is going to come through. That conviction is what's going to close the prospect. So before we get to the script, there's one more thing I need to talk about, really important. That is tonality. Remember, the majority of communication, human to human, is non-verbal. That means your body language, your tonality, how you say stuff communicates so much more than the words you actually say. Which, yes, is a little bit heartbreaking as copywriters, given we focus exclusively on the words. But on a call, there's two factors at play. There's the words and the tonality. You add video, and then all of a sudden, there's three factors at play. We have the words, the tonality, and the body language. The second two are way more important than the first one. So how you say something is so much more important than what you say. And I'll give you a very concrete example of this. Think about a sentence, very basic sentence. I didn't say she missed her flight. Well, depending on which word we emphasize, this sentence can have a completely different meaning. Check it out. I didn't say she missed her flight. 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 One sentence, 7 completely different ways of saying it, 7 completely different meanings. That is the power of tonality. And if we know that sales is a transfer of conviction, then it stands to reason, the main reason we close at 65% is because our sales team only ever hears amazing feedback from the people they close who go through our program. So therefore, they don't need to fake it because they have real conviction, because they know this shit works. So they sell the crap out of it because they actually believe in it. Imagine if someone was literally drowning in the ocean and you're sitting there on a boat and you have a life ring and you're trying to convince them to take the life ring or they're going to drown. How hard would you try to sell them? How convicted would you be? Would you be like, hey man, I think you should maybe take this life ring, like maybe it'll help? You'd be like, fuck no, dude, take the ring, put it on now. Not in an aggressive way, but in a very certain way. Absolute conviction, that's what we're going for. Now, with that said, on a sales call, there's going to be a whole load of different tonalities that you could use. There's really only 5 that you should use. Credit where credit is due. I got a lot of this from Jordan Belfort's book, The Way of the Wolf, as not many people in the world are better at this than him. I think he has like 10 in the book. I've really simplified it down to what I believe are the most important 5. First one is bottled enthusiasm. So the general vibe of your tonality throughout the interaction should really be upbeat and excited, but controlled. So you don't want to be kid on Christmas morning, oh my God, dude, this is the greatest thing ever. You fucking totally need this, man. Because then you just seem like a crazy person. And it's hard to trust someone whose tonality is so different from that of the prospect because your energy levels are totally mismatched. And it's really hard to make rapport with someone if you're super duper excited and they're kind of like tired and not that excited. You want to match the prospect's tonality and energy, but just step it up one level. So it's not off the hinge 4 o'clock sugar high. It's like, dude, between you and me, this email sequence is so insane. I'm saving up every dollar I get from clients so I can start my own list, launch my own offer, just so I can run these emails. So it's upbeat, it's excited, but it's controlled. This is what you're going to use for most of the interaction. Second tonality is absolute certainty. This is the one that you want to use when you're pitching and especially when you're stating your price to communicate absolute conviction in what you're saying. As I tell you, this is what fucks up a lot of freelancers. They get on the call and they're hesitant, they're nervous to ask for money, and it comes through in their tonality. And they say it's $2,000. It's like, dude, you sound unsure. Like, why should I be sure you can help me if you don't even sound sure? So the way that you want to speak is just speak as if you're stating an irrefutable fact. Like, today is Friday. My name is Sean. The investment is $2K. Straight to the point, absolute certainty, no questions. If you're 100% certain, that's going to bleed over into your prospect. They are going to borrow your certainty. They're going to feel more bought in. They're going to believe. They're going to buy. Next, this is what I like to call the real talk tone, or the no bullshit tone. So this is where you really just lower your tone for a second to really stress that something's important, it's scarce, or just that you really care. So you could also call this the empathetic tone. So instead of like, hey, can I be real with you for a second? It's more like, hey, can I be real with you for a second? What's really going on here? Like heart to heart, like a brother, like what's really going on here? Or dude, I know what it's like. Fighting day after day, looking at the expenses fly out of your account, wondering if you can even make payroll. I've been there, dude. It fucking sucks. Like I don't want that for you, man. See? It sounds like I really genuinely care. Pro tip, it helps if you really genuinely care. Next, childlike curiosity. This one is really good for in the info gathering phase and objection handling to build trust, rapport, and again, show that you really care. So what a lot of people do when it comes to objection handling specifically is they'll start to get really combative and almost argumentative. That's the complete opposite of what we want to do. Because if you start to get even a little bit aggressive, their prospect's guard, straight up, they're going to clam up like a shell, then you're not going to be able to get through to them. No matter what you say, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to believe you. Nothing you say is going to get in. We need to lower their guard in order for your message to actually get through, in order to actually shift their perspective. So this is exactly as it sounds. Imagine you're literally a 7-year-old kid and you're just like amazed by the world. So they tell you they've been stuck at 100K a month for the last 5 years. And you go, huh, interesting. Tell me more about that. Like, what's that like? Like, why do you think that is? Or like, wow, that's brutal. Like, how long has that been going on? Or like, yeah, totally understand. What makes you say that? Sound like you're genuinely curious. And then they will give you a genuine answer. And then last one, this is pure JB, the reasonable man tone. The time you want to use this is when you're going for the close and specifically after you've handled an objection. Pretty much the only word and the phrase that couples absolutely perfectly with this tonality is sound fair enough. If you can promise to fill out the onboarding form in the first 24 hours, then I can guarantee you'll make 10K in the first week. Sound fair enough? Yeah, that sounds fair enough. The reasonable man. Keep that one in your back pocket for the close. So an audiobook I highly recommend to master tonality is going to be Way of the Wolf from the sales savage himself, Jordan Belfort. Obviously, I recommend the audiobook, not the book, given we're learning about tonality here. And it's pretty difficult to communicate tonality through a written page. Now, a lot of people are going to shit on me. Oh, dude, Jordan Belfort's a scam artist. Why would you learn from him? It's like, yes, what he did was unethical. However, he was a fucking sales pro. And I believe you can learn from absolutely everyone. You can learn persuasion from Jordan Belfort, from Hitler, from Thanos, from Chancellor Palpatine. These incredibly evil people who did incredibly evil things, as long as you use them ethically. Because those people are incredibly good at what they do. Learn from the best, even if they're unethical. As long as you use it ethically, then it's all good. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, that's awesome, Sean, I totally get it, but what the hell do I actually say? You've been sitting here for 90 minutes going, Sean, give me the goddamn goods. Give me the script. What do I say? How do I close? Well, my friend, let us put your pain to rest. Let us finally talk about scripts. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on sales trainings. I've learned from some of the best in the industry over the last decade. Alex Samozi, Sabri Subi, David Ogilvy, Jordan Belfort, Sam Ovens, Grant Cardone, Brian Tracy, Taylor Welsh, Dan Locke, Jeremy Miner, Taki Moore, Jason Capital, Brandon Carter. I've closed over 500 one-on-one sales calls. I've sold over $5 million worth of products. And over the last 6 years, I have developed and refined my own sales script for copywriters, which has since been used by hundreds of beginner, intermediate, and expert copywriters to close their first paying clients. So drum roll, please. Without further ado, this is my coveted, trademarked, patent pending, not really, Rad Afro framework for closing copywriting clients. All you need to know is that it's proven and it works. And as promised, I'm a man of my word. I'm going to be giving you the entire framework, the entire script, nothing held back, the entire thing, all yours, linked right below for you to get your hands on. No strings attached. Please just promise that, number one, you will use this ethically. Number two, you will not be a scumbag and reshare or sell this as your own. Pirate ass motherfuckers, I'm talking to you. Please also remember, this is a framework. This is not an exact word for word script. If your script is word for word the entire way through, hate to break it to you, the prospect you're on a call with doesn't have a script. They're not reading a script. Therefore, they're going to go off script because they don't fucking have one. Therefore, your script is not going to work. So treat the script like a framework, a guideline. It's more of a series of questions to ask to direct the prospect in the direction that you want to go. It's not a word for word, say exactly this for 45 minutes straight. More important that you sound like a human and that the conversation flows naturally than that you hit every single word in question correctly. Take it, make a copy of it in your own drive and edit it to suit your own offer. Now, for the sake of time, because this video has gone on long enough already, I'm not going to go through the entire script here. I'm going to drop it below. But what I am going to do is cover a brief overview of the script, and then you can customize it to your heart's content. So, Rad Afro, what the hell is this about? This is the way that I close deals with my Rad Afro framework. First is rapport. This is the first 60 seconds of the call. Your only goal here is to create a relationship of responsiveness and to take control of the call. Right? So a lot of people think rapport is like, oh, we have the same favorite color, or we both like chocolate ice cream. We're both from Canada. No, that is not rapport. All rapport means is a relationship of responsiveness. AKA, you ask, they answer. You tell them to do something, they do it. That is it. That means you're in rapport. So all you have to do in the beginning of the interaction is just ask them a bunch of questions back to back. Hey, is this John? Yes. Boom. First question. How are you, man? Good. Awesome. Where are you calling from? Sydney. Amazing. How's it over there? It's great. Awesome. Just making sure you're free for 45 so we can cover everything we need to cover? Yes. Perfect. Let's get into it. Boom. In the span of literally 30 seconds, you've asked 5 questions back to back. You've established the rhythm of I ask, you answer. That is your only goal with the beginning of the call. So yeah, you can shoot some shit, go back and forth, bit of small talk, build a bit of a relationship, build a bit of connection. Just keep it to 1 minute and then move on to the second piece, which is agenda. All this is, you're going to briefly outline what's going to happen on the call. Hey man, so I know we're both busy. So what I wanted to cover here on the call today, super simple. I just wanted to go over where you are now, where you're trying to go, what's kind of getting in the way. Then we can put together a game plan for you to solve that spam problem that I know you've been having. And then at the end, I want to walk you through some possible solutions to that. Some of which will include working with me if you want to, and some of them will be go off, do it yourself, or I'm happy to refer you to someone else if it makes sense. Sound good? Yes. Amazing. Perfect. Move on. D, decision. What specifically made them reach out and book a call? Good to know. So ask them. Say, hey, so before we get started and get into the meat of things, I wanted to just get clear, like, what's the actual main reason that you booked a call? So I can make sure the next 45 minutes is a good use of our time. They're going to tell you what's important to them. Boom. Now you know what to focus on the call. A simply stands for answers. So these are the Calendly question answers. This is really the discovery phase of the closing call. It's going to be the majority of the call. You're going to go over the Calendly answers. You're going to dig deeper into each one. You're going to talk about where are they now? Where do they want to go? What's getting in the way? What have they tried? And you want to, without trying too hard, stretch that gap as wide as possible by agitating the pain points, the things they've tried, the pain of staying the same. Where are they now? Okay, well, why is that a problem? Ah, I see, because you're plateauing. Well, what's wrong with that? Oh, because it means you can't grow and scale. Oh, because it means you're working crazy hours for not much money. What's so bad about that? Oh, because you don't have time for your family and your life is like work 80 hours a week. Oh, dude, that sounds rough. Yeah, let's definitely help you with that. Then where do they want to go? So tell me more about the goals for your business. Like, is this an empire thing? You want to build this into $1 billion company, or, more like a lifestyle thing? You just want to live a great life and make a lot of money on the way. Oh, it's a lifestyle thing. Really cool. Well, how much are we talking? Oh, $3 million a year. Hell yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm sure if you could 3x your business, you'd be stoked. Curious, like, why 3 million? Like, why is that important to you? Oh, so you can start investing in real estate and build a portfolio so you have financial security for you and your family. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Sounds like family is really important to you. Yeah. Is it just a wife or you have kids as well? Oh, you have kids. Oh, that's so cool. How old? Oh, 11 and 4. Oh, wow. Dude, what a cool role model of a dad they're going to have one day when you're making $3 million a year, working 20 hours a week. You have all this time to spend with your family. Like, hell yeah. That sounds incredible. Like, let's make that a reality. What's getting in the way? All right. Well, right now you're at 1 million. You want to get to 3 million. What's stopping you from just 3xing your ad spend and just scaling to 3 million? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah. It actually sounds like this is a bit more complicated, isn't it? What have you actually tried to scale from 1 to 3 million? Oh, we've tried this and this didn't work and that didn't work and that didn't work and that didn't work. Like, wow, dude. How long have you been at this? 4 years. Holy shit. You've been stuck in the same place for 4 years. Jeez, dude. Like, no wonder you're so frustrated. I would be too. Blah, 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 right? You would talk specifically about their emails and the thing that you do with the copywriting, but you would also talk about their business as a whole and how email and the thing that you offer and your service contributes towards their overall vision for their growth, for their business, which then contributes to their overall vision for their entire life. So it's not just email, it's not just their business, but it's their life as a whole. It's their business goals, personal goals, life goals, family goals, all that stuff. Because really, what you're selling is not just more profit, more money, more growth, but it's also more time. Because you sell a done-for-you service, they're going to get their time back, which they can then spend on high leverage activities to grow their business, or they could spend it traveling. They could spend it with their family, playing tennis, whatever's important to them. But you don't know what's important to them until you ask them, which is why this part of the call is so important. And it's why it takes up the majority of the call. Next bit, F, feed and confirm. This is super important. You want to summarize everything that they've said and confirm you're on the same page. What did I say was the number one rule of sales? If you were paying attention and you remembered, the golden rule of sales is if the prospect feels like you understand them better than they understand themselves, they will assume you have the solution. So check it out. After you ask all these questions, they give you all these answers. Here's the magic secret. You take exactly what they told you and you literally just feed it back to them word for word. Don't rephrase it. Don't say it in a different way. If they say profit, don't say income, say profit. If they say family, don't say wife and kids, say family. Literally just regurgitate back to them exactly what they said in their exact words. This will make them feel like you're actually listening, like you're actually paying attention, like you actually care, and that you can actually solve the problem. Pro tip, by the way, you should absolutely have a notepad and pen ready to take notes during the call. You should take a lot of notes during the call. So then, when you've taken all these notes down, you can feed it all back to them in one sentence and they go, holy shit, wow, this guy really knows what's up. Like he really gets me. Now their guard is down. Now they are actually going to trust you. They're actually going to delegate the responsibility of authority onto your shoulders. They're going to believe you as an expert because you've demonstrated that you actually understand their problem. That's the secret to sales. So then we go into R, revenue forecast. This is something a little bit unique that I do that I haven't really seen any other like sales coaches or whatever talking about. And I think this is honestly a really important part of the call. So rather than jumping straight into your offer, which is what most people would do, I like to actually play out some real world numbers and use worst case, typical case, and best case numbers by plugging in their exact inputs for their list size, their open rates, their click rates, their price point, how many emails they're sending a week, and then how much money they're making from emails overall. What I'll then do is I'll take those numbers and I'll literally just change one variable at a time and I'll show them with maths and proof. If we simply increase the open rate from 20% to 25%, well, that will increase their entire email marketing revenue by 25%. And so I'll do that 3 times. So I'll use really conservative numbers for the worst case. Pro tip, the worst case should still be really appealing and make the investment look really attractive. I'll do that for a typical case, which I think is realistically achievable. And then I'll do a smash hit. If we knock this out of the park, then here's really what's possible. So I'll give you a very concrete example of what this would look like on an actual sales call. So let's imagine the prospect is doing 10K a month right now with their email list. They have a list of 5,000 people. They're sending 3 times a week and they're averaging a 10% open rate and a 1% click-through rate. So I'm going to literally type in the exact numbers that they told me. I'm not making anything up. This is coming from the prospect's mouth. I'm then going to future pace 3 different scenarios, worst case, typical case, and best case, by playing with these numbers. So this is your current program right now. These are all your numbers and it's making you 10K a month. So we're going to start with the same baseline of 10K a month. However, let's assume your list size stays exactly the same. We're not running ads. We're not growing the list. The list is the same. All we're going to do is we're going to send 6 times a week instead of 3 times a week. And it has been proven time and time again, the more emails you send, the more money you will make. So therefore, if we send 6 emails a week instead of 3, all else being equal, we will double our email revenue. We will now make $20,000 a month instead of $10,000. The next change is if we can get you from a 10% open rate to a 15% open rate, which still isn't great by any means, but it's a 50% increase. Well, that's 50% more people seeing every single email. So once again, we take the 20K and we multiply this by 1.5. So we go from 20 to $30,000 a month. We didn't even improve the copy at all. Like the click rate stayed the same, the program price stayed the same, but literally just from sending twice as often and improving your open rates, we can triple the revenue you're making right now from your email marketing program. And that's only worst case. Here's where it gets really juicy. So let's do a typical case. So same list size, 5,000, sending frequency 6x. So we take the 10,000, we multiply it by 2, we get 20. Open rates have doubled. They were 10%, now they're 20. So we double this again and we get to $40,000 a month, and we write slightly better copy. So your click rate goes up by 10%. Therefore, that means 10% more people viewing the sales page, the book a call page, whatever it is. Obviously, if we're getting 10% more traffic to the same source, all else being equal, that means we'll get 10% more sales. So therefore, we increase this by 10%, and this becomes $44,000 a month. By the way, if you're not good at mental maths, or these are like not clean round numbers, do the maths on Google Calculator in front of them. 5 divided by 4, oh, that's a 25% increase. You don't look stupid by doing it. It just helps the prospect follow along better. So they feel like it's real numbers and you're not just making shit up. Then check it out. Let's go balls to the wall and let's really think about the best case scenario that we could achieve here. So imagine like 12 months from now, we've reinvested some of these profits, this 44K a month, back into ads, and we've actually doubled your list size. We're running ads, we're growing the list, and we now have a 10,000 person list instead of 5,000. So immediately we double this to 20K. We're sending 7 times a week instead of 3. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, so I'm going to go 7 divided by 3. Okay, that's a 2.33% increase. So 2.33 times 20, that's 46,667 a month. And because of the automation and deliverability tricks that I've implemented, we're now getting a 30% open rate instead of 10%. So therefore, we triple this number. So we're going to take this, paste, multiply by 3, boom, $140,000. And then I've really dialed in your brand voice. I really understand your audience. So my copy converts even better. And we're able to increase that click rate by literally just 0.1%. So we're now driving 20% more people to the sales page than we were before. Again, all else being equal, we drive 20% more traffic to your sales page. That's 20% more sales. So there's 140 times by 1.2. That gets us 168,000. Final thing we do, we take your price and we simply just increase it by 10%. Yes, there'll be some slight drop in conversions, but in general, if you increase your price by 10% and you're making sales at 2,500, you're still going to make sales at 2,750 and you'll make a lot more in profit than the tiny percentage of people you'll lose from that slight increase. The best part is that is pure profit goes straight to the bottom line. So we can increase this number once again by 10% times 1.1. That gets us to $184,800. That is like absolute best case scenario a year from now. That's what we can work towards. Definitely not promising these results. However, I just want to show you what is potentially possible if we really dial this thing in. But let's just forget about that for a minute and let's just bring it back, right? So let's just say I'm full of shit. You know, this is completely unrealistic and all I was able to do was just get you from 10K a month to 30K a month. Would that still be a pretty good result? They'll say, fuck yeah. Then in a few minutes, when you go to pitch them on saying it's 3K a month, now you've established clear, concrete value of saying, yeah, it's 3K a month, but dude, this is going to make you 30K a month. That's a 10x return. And that's only really the worst case. So it gives you much more leverage, much more ammunition to then contrast that with your price, make your services seem like a really good deal. So yes, those numbers are pretty wild and crazy, but that's why I like to just sell based on the worst case scenario so they can really see that like, even if we only get a couple increases in a couple numbers, it's still going to pay for itself many times over. That's the idea. And then, very simple. Present your offer, walk them through your 2 options and close them. That right there is the Rad Afro framework for closing copywriting clients. But we're not quite done yet because what if they don't buy straight away? What do? Do we run? Do we panic jump off Zoom? Do we curl up into a ball and cry? Do we call our mum? No, we handle their objections because there will almost always be objections. So let's talk about how to handle those right now. Section 4, we're nearly there. We are in the end zone, squashing objections. Here's the truth. Most times people are not going to say yes right away. There'll be a few people, those people are amazing, but most people are going to have bullshit or occasionally legit reasons why they can't invest today. Now, most of the time, the objection that they give you is a smokescreen for a deeper reason. And it is your job as a closer to dig through those layers, just like an onion, to get to the real objection. And you want to help the prospect make the decision that's best for them. But if you really boil it down, there are only 2 types of objections that someone will give you. There's external, which are usually bullshit reasons, and there is internal, which is usually the real reason that they have. So external objections include everything that's outside of them. So these are circumstances and other people. So for example, I don't have time, or now isn't a good time, or I'm not sure if it's for me, or I can't afford it, or it's too expensive, or I need to talk to my wife or my business partner or whoever it is. Those are all external objections. Most times people are going to start with these because it's a way easier scapegoat to just blame something else than it is to actually take internal responsibility and accountability. But it's your job to get to the truth, which is the internal objection. Now, internal objections really at their core aren't actually objections, but they're essentially delaying the decision. So this is when people will tell you, I need to think about it. Can you send me a proposal? Send me more information? That sort of stuff. However, these internal objections won't surface until you've first broken through these surface level external objections. So the goal is to help the prospect claim the power to make a decision. Because essentially, at its core, objections are simply excuses as to why the person can't take action today. They're blaming all these other external things like, oh yeah, I totally wish I could join, but it's just that my business partner has to sign off on it. Or it's just that now's the busy season for me and I don't have time. Or like, it's just not in the budget, but like otherwise I would totally do it. Right? It's much easier as humans to blame other things than to actually look in the fucking mirror and take responsibility for our decisions. So that's why most people will start with these external smokescreen bullshit objections. It's your job to get to the truth. You want to actually give the prospect the power to make a decision. You want to help them realize that the reason that they can or can't join buy your thing, it's not their wife, it's not they don't have time, it's not the cost, it's not the business partner, it's them. You want to give them the power to make the decision. That decision can be a yes or a no. Either one is totally fine. Totally fine if they don't want to work with you. What you want them to do is make a decision. Before they can make a decision, they need to understand that they internally and only they have the power to make the decision. The ugly truth is, 9 times out of 10, the real core reason that they are hesitant to invest is because, frankly, they're not 100% convinced that they're going to get the results that you promised. More bluntly, they don't fucking trust you. Like I said, Google's 7-11-4 rule. People are more skeptical than ever before. It's a zero moment of truth. The landscape has changed. People are hesitant. People are skeptical. It's a lot harder to make sales. And the reality is, it's very hard to overcome this at this stage of the conversation once you've revealed your price. So if you're getting this objection, it's usually a sign that things have gone wrong upstream, earlier in the interaction, or even before the call. Now, in a perfect world, you would pre-handle all of these objections either on the sales call before you get to the price or even before the sales call so they never even surface in the first place. So, pro tip, take a note of the major objections that you get and find a way to handle those objections before you get to your pitch. So that way, the prospect doesn't even have the chance to bring them up because they've already been addressed. Now, I know I said before, you don't want to be needy and desperate and attached to making the sale. My mentality is that if you truly believe in what you sell and the results that you can provide, I believe you are morally obligated to do everything in your power that you can to get the person to invest. Okay? Remember the life ring analogy. The person is drowning in the ocean. How hard would you try to sell them that life ring? You would sell them like their life fucking depended on it because it literally does. All right, so there are 101 objections that you might face. I'm not going to give you an exhaustive laundry list of every single one, or we'll be here forever. What I do want to give you is how to handle the most common ones that you're going to face. Let's talk about handling objections. Rule number 1 of handling objections. These 3 words. Write them down. Never play fetch. The number one thing that fucks up newbies on a call is they're leading the interaction the whole way. They're doing super well. They're asking the right questions. Then the prospect has an objection. They say, hey, so can you tell me a bit about your experience? And instead of handling it correctly, what does the newbie do? They start rationalizing, justifying. They start explaining themselves to the prospect. They start trying to prove themselves to the prospect. Guess what's just happened? You've lost control. You've lost power. You've lost the frame of the interaction. You're not in control. You're not going to close. The second it becomes a fucking interview, they're interviewing you. They're asking the questions. They're asking you to prove to them why you're legit, why they should trust you. Oh, but like, you're done. The call's over. You're not going to close. They're literally throwing a stick and they're saying, hey dog, go fetch. If you fetch, you're fucked. Don't fetch. Don't fall for their tricks. Don't play their games. You need to elegantly sidestep the question. Yes, you can answer it, but you need to make sure that you regain control of the interaction, then ask the next question and lead the interaction forward. Do not get stuck in a game of fetch. So instead, what you want to do is use something that I made up literally 2 hours ago before I made this training that I call the ARQ framework, ARQ. The very first thing that you do when you get an objection, you always agree with the prospect. Doesn't matter what they say. If they say, I need to think about it, and you start arguing or you get combative or you say, well, hey man, I've given you all the information, like what do you need to think about? Now the rapport is completely broken. They're on the defense. Their guard is way up. They no longer trust you as an expert and as an advisor and as a friend. You're just a slimy salesperson trying to sell them shit. And guess what? People love to buy, but they hate to be sold. Now you're hard selling. Now you're playing fetch. We don't want that. So you agree. You say, yeah, dude, of course you don't have time. You're a busy business owner. You're a CEO. Like you're super busy. I'm even amazed you have time to do this call right now. So you agree, right? Because then what they can't do, it can't become an argument. It can't become combative because there's no resistance. It's like they push, and instead of you pushing back and now you're fighting fire with fire and arguing like a 6-year-old, you offer absolutely no resistance. And you say, yeah, you're 100% right. Changes the dynamic of the interaction completely. Then we reframe. We reframe their objection and we shift their perspective. We get them to see it in a different way. Usually the best way to do this is through some sort of analogy or a story. And then Q, question. So you want to ask them a question that lets them talk themselves into the decision. The way to close, at least in the way I like to do it, is to let the prospect close themselves. I hate selling people, and people hate to be sold to. I always want the prospect to make this feel like this was their idea, like this was their decision, like they want it, and I'm just there to kind of facilitate the interaction and make it happen. That's what we want. So just a heads up, this part of the conversation is going to feel really uncomfortable, especially if you've never done it before. You need to really learn to bask in the tension and get comfortable asking the hard questions. Because we're really going deep here. Like this is going to feel like you're really getting someone to open up and talk about why they're not interested in what you're selling and then try reframing the perspective. It's a very delicate conversation to have. It's going to be uncomfortable the first 100 times you do it. So why do I have a picture of Margot Robbie aside from a blatant attempt to hold your attention? And also because what would a sales training be without as many Wolf of Wall Street memes as possible? It's because one of the best ways to practice this basking in the tension, so to speak, is 3 things. Number 1, cold showers. If you can take a freezing cold shower and sit there and let the cold ass water run over your body and not scream and freak out and fidget, and you can be completely calm and still and breathe slowly, that is going to work wonders for your tension muscle. Number 2, eye contact. If you can learn to hold eye contact with strangers, particularly an extremely attractive member of the opposite sex, not get fidgety, not want to look away, not get nervous, and you just boom, right here. Not in a weird, creepy, stalkerish way, okay? There is a limit to how long you can hold eye contact before it becomes downright creepy, but just simply practice every conversation you have in the next 30 days. I want you to just hold eye contact just an extra second longer than you feel comfortable. And then you can slowly turn your head and look away. Number 3 is not filling silences in conversations. When you're having a conversation with someone, the next time the conversation reaches a natural dip or an end, and there's that awkward silence, don't feel obliged to immediately rush in and fill the silence by saying something. Become comfortable in that awkward pause. Let the other person become uncomfortable. Let them be the one to fill the gap. If you can do those 3 things, ice cold water, hold eye contact, and be comfortable with extended long pauses, you are going to have an immensely strong cool under pressure muscle. You will become a deal closing machine. Not just in business, but in your dating life too. You can thank me later for that. With that said, let's talk about the major objections you're going to face in order from most surface level all the way down to the real core reasons that someone says why they can't work with you. So the first one is going to be all about timing. A really common one in the sales world, which you really shouldn't get because you're selling a done for you service, is I don't have time or I'm too busy. Now again, you're helping them save time by doing it for them. So this really shouldn't be an objection. But if that does come up, what I would say, yeah, 100%. You're a busy business owner. You shouldn't be messing around with this email text stuff. That's exactly why busy business owners like you hire me to do their emails for them. My service is 100% done for you. All I need is just 30 minutes for you to complete the onboarding form. Then you can start profiting as soon as today without needing to lift a finger or push a button. Sound fair enough? Reasonable, man tone? So that handles that one. Next, now isn't a good time. Now, these might seem on the surface level like the same, but they're actually completely different. So this one is micro, like I'm too busy day to day, like I don't have time in my day. This one is more macro, so it's like seasonal. So it's like now in this phase of my life isn't a good time. The way I like to handle this one is, again, always agree. Hey, totally understand. You must be super busy running your business. Childlike curiosity. You want to say this like you're genuinely confused. You're like, hey, so just to make sure I'm hearing you right, you're saying now isn't a good time to bring on someone who's going to add an extra 20 to 30K a month to your bottom line hands-free? You're kind of making them sound like a bit of an idiot. And they're going to say, oh, well, no, I didn't mean it like that. It's just that blah, 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 blah. Then you hit them with the real talk tone and you go, hey, can I be honest with you for a second? It sounds like there's something else holding you back. What's your main concern? Just be very honest and upfront and transparent. Then they may well tell you the real reason. Then you can go and attack that thing. Now, if they're still stuck on this time objection, then the way I would handle it, you're going to say, hey man, totally get it. You're a super busy business owner. You got a lot on your plate right now. If we're being honest with ourselves though, there's never really going to be a perfect time, is there? You're always going to be busy. There's always going to be a lot on your plate. In fact, as you grow and get more successful, there's only going to be more and more stuff on your plate. That's exactly why busy CEOs like you hire me to do this for them. So why don't you just let me take this off your plate so you can focus on running your business and let me handle this? Sound like a plan? Boom, mic drop. That's how I handle that one. So that's timing done. Let's talk about the next layer, which is need. So when I say need, I basically mean, I'm not sure if I need this, or I'm not sure if this is for me. I don't know if this is a good fit, that type of thing. The best way to handle this would be to tell a client story if you have one. So yeah, hey, totally get it. One of my clients, Bob, was actually in the same position as you. And, he thought the same thing about emails because he was like a LinkedIn guy, like he didn't really care about emails. So we agreed to a 1-week trial and, he actually made $12,000 in his first week. He was blown away because his list was only 3,000 people. And the reason I mentioned Bob is that, you guys actually have a very similar offer and audience. Your program's both 5K, you have around the same list size. So honestly, man, I see no reason why we couldn't do the same thing for you. Why don't we just do like a 1-week trial and then we'll know for sure. Pretty easy way to close someone from there. Next up, if you don't have a client story, you can just do hypothetical. So you can say, hey, totally get it. If I can ask, what would this need to have in order for it to be a hell yes? They'll tell you the thing. And you say, so if I could add that piece in, you'd be in? If the answer is yes, well, now, if you can find a way to add that thing without you bending over backwards and jumping through 100 hoops. But if it's something stupid simple, like I would need you to post to Instagram for me, or I would need to guarantee you can make me 10K in the first month, well then boom, add that to your offer and close them. Done deal. Otherwise, what I'd do from there is retreat to a downsell. So you'd say, hey, totally get it. We just met and I don't know if this is going to be a good fit either. You could be a total nightmare client to work with, right? This is a two-way street. So, instead of trying to get married on the first date, why don't we do this? 1-week trial, $500. And if after a week you don't feel like it was worth every cent, then I'll refund you $500. We can part ways as friends. Sound fair enough? Boom, mic drop. And again, totally up to you if you want to offer a money back guarantee. If you don't want to, whatever, it's your call. But that's obviously a very easy offer to say yes to because it's 100% risk-free. And if you're just starting out and you're trying to get your first paying client, I would make the offer as irresistible as possible by adding in that money back guarantee. Because frankly, at this stage, your number one priority is just to get your first paying client. Then, once you get some more paying clients, you get some more experience under your belt, then you can be Billy Big Balls, start dictating terms, ditch the money back guarantee and all that sort of stuff. Third one, this is going to be the major one you're going to face, and that is price, which really just comes down to value. They simply just do not think the value of what you offer is worth the price that you're asking for. Now, what most people do in this situation is they play fetch. They run off, they start justifying their value, and they say, well, we're different because of this, and these are my results, and this is what I can get you, and this other guy can't do that, blah, 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 blah. You've lost the frame. The way I like to do it is completely different from the way most people handle this, because I do the complete opposite. I have used this line on more calls than I can remember, and it works 100% of the time. It is actually insane. It is a gem. And all I do is I just agree with them and just push them away. I say, yeah, dude, totally get it. I'm definitely more expensive than the beginner copywriters that you'll find on sites like Fiverr and Upwork. If price is your main concern, why don't you just hire a budget copywriter from one of those sites? Now, what's going to happen? They are going to start justifying to you why they're on the phone with you. They're going to start to justify why they want to pay for quality, why they don't want the cheapest price. They're going to start to justify why people on Fiverr and Upwork are rubbish and that they want someone who can produce results. Aha! So then we can say, yeah, got it. Makes sense. So it sounds like you're actually looking for results here and an ROI and not just the cheapest price. Is that right? Yes. Right. You're telling me though that, you wanted to go from A to C, from 20K a month to 40K a month. I mean, tell me, if all this did was just get you to 30K, would it still be worth it? And if you've done your job right, they should say yes. And if you're charging 2K a month and promising they can get from 20K to 30K, that's still a 5x ROI. So they should say yes. Then you hit him with the Billy Big Balls. Hey, so let me ask you, why do you think niche business owners pay me 2K a month to handle their email marketing for them? If you're going to say this, you better say it with damn certain tonality or you are going to be a fried egg in a pan. Because then they're going to start justifying to you why business owners pay you high sums of money to write their emails. Oh, well, obviously because you must be good, because you must get an ROI, blah, 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 blah. You're not saying it. You're not saying how good you are. They're saying how good you must be because of how much you charge. That difference is everything. Then you say, well, let me put it this way. What's more expensive? Investing in your email program or letting your business stagnate for another 6 months, not grow as big as it could, not make as much money as it could, not change as many lives as it could? Which of those is more expensive to you? The 2K a month that I charge or the 20K a month you're bleeding every month right now by not having this promo tab problem solved? Checkmate, Eisenhower. Yeah, I guess you're right. Right. It sounds like you're stuck, And let's just say for a second here that I am able to take you from 20K a month to 40K a month. That's an extra 20 times 12, $240,000 a year for you. Does it really matter if I charge you 2K, 3K, or hell, even 5K a month? Right? We're shifting their perspective from this is a cost to this is an investment with an ROI. If they're still not sold, hit them with the old Brandon Carter. Hey, hypothetically, what's the worst thing that could happen if you signed up today? Would you be like homeless, eating 2-minute noodles, living out of your car? They're going to laugh and say no. And you go, no, really, like how bad would it be? They say, oh, well, not that bad. And you go, well, then let's do it. And you close them. And if it is that bad, then you can either offer a downsell or frankly, probably just don't close them, because a business owner who's struggling that hard, that 2K a month would make them homeless, isn't going to be a great client. Hate to break it to you. Now, if they're still dancing around the question and you want to just cut through the fluff, cut through the bullshit and just get to the heart of the problem, you can literally just ask them point blank, hey man, so the real question here is, do you actually believe that I can get you these results? And then they're going to be totally honest with you. So if it's a yes, then it's like, cool, well, let's do it. And if it's a no, well then, boom, we found the real reason. Then we can go and address that. Now, failing all that, one super easy way to close people if they do have a price objection is simply just to whip out one of those downsells we talked about earlier and just offer that instead. So the easiest way to do this would be to offer a 1-week either paid trial for cheap, like $500, or even a free trial. I would recommend going for paid because we want to maintain your status as an expert. But if you're absolutely unproven and they know you have no experience and you really have no proof or leverage or legs to stand on at all, definitely not a bad idea to offer them a free trial so you can get them results in advance, show them what you're capable of, then you can upsell them into a paying retainer. So the way I would phrase it would be like this. Hey, totally understand. We just met, I'm some guy on the internet. I wouldn't trust me either. You've probably been burned before. There's a lot of shitty copywriters out there. And to be frank, you haven't seen the results I can provide for you yet. And it's really hard to make a decision from the outside looking in. The only way you're going to know for sure is by actually working with me. I could be full of shit. I could be making you empty promises. So why don't we do this? If you don't want to commit to 2K a month right now, totally cool. Why don't we just start with a 1-week trial, no commitment, everything that I mentioned before for just $500 for the week. And if you're stoked with the results, you want to continue after that, then we can. And if you don't want to continue for whatever reason, then that is 100% fine. I'll tear up the contract. We'll part ways as friends. Sound fair enough? Boom. Mic drop. Now, quick note. This fucks up so many freelancers. Please don't be one of them. If the prospect asks you about price at any point in the interaction, from your very first point of contact when you send them the cold email or DM, when you're having the conversation before the call, on the call, if at any point, and they most likely will, ask you about the price of your services, do not reveal your price until after you have pitched them and they understand the value. Otherwise, they will not buy. Any price without context of value is too expensive. If I say, hey, I have this box, and I say it's $100, do you want it? You're gonna say, no, because I have no idea what's in it. It's just an empty cardboard box. If I say it's $10, do you want it? You're gonna say, no, it's just a fucking cardboard box, because you don't understand the value of what's in it. So any price is too expensive. What if instead of just air, there was a brand new MacBook Pro in the box? Now is it worth $100? Probably. But until they have the context of understanding the value of what's in the box, then any price is too expensive. So do not play fetch, do not answer their question directly, or surprise, surprise, that's the last message you're getting from them. You wonder why people ghost you. That's why. But of course, we need to be human about this. We can't just completely ignore their question. We're still going to answer it, but delicately. So the way that I like to handle this is just to give them a range. And I like to give them a really wide range to then be able to justify taking the next step in the sales interaction, which would be booking a call, getting on the call, etc. So in that situation, I would say, hey, to be honest, it could be anywhere from $500 to $5,000. It fully depends on where you're at, how big you're looking to grow, and how quickly. I don't really believe email marketing is a one-size-fits-all situation. That's why every package is custom for every client's needs. And besides, I don't even like talking about price until I'm confident I can actually help you. Because if I'm not able to help you, then obviously I don't want your money. Is that fair enough? And I mean, who's going to say no to that? Mic drop, proceed to the next question. Second last one, we're nearly there. This is an external decision maker. So this is when someone says, hey, I'm not sure, man. Yeah, sounds good, but I need to talk to my wife, my business partner, my goldfish, my second aunt, my third grade maths teacher. You laugh, but it happens. And you say, sure, no problem. How long do you think you'll need to talk to them? They'll say, I don't know, probably a day or two. Then you say, no problem. And, just out of curiosity, like, what would you do if they said no? And if they say, well, I'd probably still do it. Well, then let's do it. What's the problem? Close the sale. And if they say, well, no, then I wouldn't do it. Then you go, well, why do you think they'd be opposed to this? Childlike curiosity. Your wife and your business partner are supposed to be like your biggest supporters. Like, why do you think they'd be opposed to you doing something that's going to help you make more money and grow the business and have more freedom in your life? You want to say it like you're genuinely confused, like you're curious, because what they're saying is genuinely retarded. You just want to make them feel the retardation in a non-confronting, insulting way. Would you say they approve of you losing $20,000 a month? Wouldn't they approve of you doing something to solve that problem? Like, that's what good business partners are meant to do, right? If you still ain't getting through, hit him with, hey, and Sam, can I be honest with you for a second? What's your partner's name? Tim. Got it. So, does Tim trust you? I mean, he went into business with you, didn't he? Like, do you think Tim trusts you to make the right decision for your business? Reasonable man tone. And then, if all else fails, hit him with the good old forgiveness, not permission. This is classic Hormozy, and it just straight up works. So you're going to say, hey man, so let's do this. Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, right? They'll probably laugh and agree because they know where you're going with this. Then you say, so let's get started today. And if you get off the phone and Tim comes to you and he says, Sam, I want the business to stay stuck. I want to keep losing 20K each and every month. I want you to be overworked and stressed and never spend any time with your wife and kids and never take another vacation again. If Tim says that to you, you call me straight away. We'll tear this agreement up and I will refund every last cent. Sound fair enough? Boom. You got him in your back pocket. Another one. And now we've drilled down through all the layers of bullshit, and finally we get to the internal objections. We get to the real core reasons of why people are deciding to tell you no. The most common one that you're gonna get at this point is the 6 words that are every salesperson's nightmare. I need to think about it. Now, firstly, the thing you need to understand is that this isn't actually an objection. This is really just a stall. It is them stalling on making a decision. And remember, it is your job as a closer to guide them and to give them the power to make a decision. So we still need to drill one layer deeper to uncover what the actual real objection is. So then I like to hit him with the old Brandon Carter and I say, hey man, yeah, no problem. Like, how long do you need to think about it? And they'll probably say, oh, just a day or two, just to make sure we have the finances, blah, 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 whatever. You go, you sure? You don't want to take a few weeks, maybe a few months, in a lighthearted way, joke about it, because they know what they're doing, right? It's like every business owner fucking knows that it's like, this objection's so common, it's literally a meme, right? You're just calling it out for what it is. You're saying it's like, come on, dude, like, don't give me that. And again, same angle. You go, just out of curiosity, like, what's really the worst thing that could happen if you made the investment today? Like, you're going to be homeless, eating ramen, clipping coupons, living out of your car. They're going to laugh, say no. And if it's really not that bad, you'll probably find that they'll start to talk themselves into it. And then once they've talked themselves into it, it's like, well, let's get started. Boom, close them. Drop the mic. Now, if it is that bad, or really they just need to think about it or whatever, they're still giving you that, it's okay. We got some more tricks up our sleeves. You're going to hit them with the good old Dan lock. You know what, Sam? I've been doing this for a long time, and usually when people say that they want to think about it, it's usually a no. They just don't want to hurt my feelings. Isn't that the case here? Really, you're just calling this out for what it is because they know it's a fucking bullshit smokescreen objection. You're cutting right to the heart of it and you're saying, dude, what's the problem? They'll say, oh no, it's just that blah, 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 blah. Then you say, totally get it. Hey, just before I jump off Zoom here, Sam, why did you book a call in the first place? Notice the tonality. It's not, why'd you book a call, dude? It's, why did you book a call in the first place? Like, childlike curiosity, right? Don't get combative. It's not you versus the prospect. You guys are on the same team. You're trying to find a solution to the problem. You're comrades, not enemies. Well, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted help with the spam problem, whatever. Sam, can I be honest? It's the money, isn't it? Surprise, surprise. It's always the fucking money. They will almost always say, yeah, I'm just not sure I can justify that kind of money right now, blah, blah, blah. Well, now you know what the real problem is. You can go confront it, refer to the price resistance handling above. And if you want to go one layer deeper, you can hit him with the good old Sabri Subi. Hey, just so I'm clear where we're at, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where are we sitting? 1 being, you wouldn't even do it right now, even if I paid you. And 10 being, you're ready to sign up right now. They're going to tell you, they're going to give you a number. Awesome. At least now you know where you actually stand. Then you go, perfect, amazing. What would you need for it to be a 10? They're going to tell you what they actually want. And then if you can add that thing to your service, because often it's just a small little stupid thing. It's like, oh yeah, I just didn't want to share my password with you for security reasons. And you go, oh, dude, that was it? Wow, I'm so stupid. I should have mentioned. We use LastPass with all our clients, so we can log into your ESP without even needing your password. Like, was that really your only concern? And they go, yeah. And you go, fuck. I'm so glad we cleared that up. Yeah, I don't need your password at all. And then you close them. Or retreat to a downsell if that doesn't work. Boom, baby. Couple last objections just as a little bonus for you here. If they are still skeptical that you can produce results, firstly, just understand that if this does happen, it most likely means that you have failed to communicate your value and your unique mechanism earlier in the interaction. So once again, the problems happened a long time before this moment. So if you're getting questions like, I'm talking to other copywriters, why should I hire you over them? Really, it's a sign that you've lost control of the call, you failed to communicate your value, and you have some work to do in your sales process. No problem. You're here with me right now, so it's okay. We're going to overcome it. This is the way that I like to do it. I have used this many times myself, and once again, it has never failed me. Back when I used to do all the sales calls for my own program, I would have the occasional skeptical person ask, like, well, I'm thinking about program A, B, and C, like, why should I join CMB instead of theirs? Rather than justifying to them how good I am, like a goober, like 90% of salespeople would do, I agree. And I push them away. I don't want to tell them how good I am. I want them to tell me how good I am. So I say, hey, that's a great question. Like, there are loads of talented copywriters out there. Like, why don't you just go with one of them? Think about the wording behind that question. Why don't you just go with one of them? Negative worded question. What are they going to do? They're going to start to literally justify to you why they are not going with the alternatives. In order to answer the question, they have to justify to you why they're choosing you over the alternatives. They will then start to explain why they're on the call with you, what the other copywriters don't have that you have. All the ways they've been let down before, the way that you're different. They're literally selling you on why you're better. And you just sit there and listen. It's fucking awesome. And if they do need that little bit of logical justification after that, then you can simply just say, so what I do is actually different from most copywriters. Most copywriters will simply just write the copy in a Google Doc, and that's fine, but it has these problems in that it doesn't take into account your deliverability or your automation. And so most of the time the emails end up going to promo and you wonder why they don't work. And then the reason is because no one sees them. Most copywriters don't have a promotional calendar and proven cash injection campaigns, and blah, 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 right? So then you can talk about unique mechanism. You can do a little bit of the justification stuff and simply explain why you're not selling them on why you're better. You're telling them why you're different. You're saying this is the system that the other copywriters you've worked with have probably used, and this system inherently is flawed because of XYZ reasons. So it's not the writer, it's their strategy. The difference with me is I use this mechanism over here, which is different. And it works like A, B, and C, and that is why it's able to produce results X, Y, Z. Does that make sense? Can you see the difference? They say yes, close them. And if they ask anything along the lines of like, hey, do you have any experience? Or who else have you done this for? I already have a YouTube video covering that. You can just watch this right there. 14 minutes long, and it answers that question. If their objection is, well, I already have a copywriter, then I have a YouTube video talking about that as well. Full transparency, the first 3 minutes is like really cringy roleplay, but the information is pretty solid. And a final catch-all panic button if you're unsure of how to handle the objection. Remember, always agree first, but whatever the objection is, just take it and you say, yeah, totally get it. Your grandma died in a car crash 3 years ago and that's why you can't invest today. Totally makes sense. In a hypothetical world where that didn't exist, where that didn't happen, would you be ready to move forward? If they say yes, well now you go, great, let's figure out how to solve X. But now they've told you the one problem that you have, and then you can just simply attack that one isolated variable, solve that one thing, then you can overcome it, and then you can get the sale. And the last bit, this is so important, is once you've handled the objection, what do you do? What do you say? I see a lot of people fuck this up. They'll handle the objection, it'll be great, and then there's kind of this like awkward silence, and it's like, so do you want to join? And it's like, what do I say? Like, how do I make that transition from handling the objection to getting the credit card information? Let me solve this problem for you once and for all. Here's what you say. You handle the objection, they agree, you're all on the same page, and then you say, so what would you like to do next? So where do you think we should go from here? Anything along those lines. I don't want to sell them. I'm not here to push them into it. I want this to feel like their idea, like they're selling me on it. So most of the time they'll say, well, can you tell me how it works? Well, I guess we should start. And they'll push the sale forward for you. That's what you want. One thing I like to do as well is if you can tell from their tonality that they're really not certain, if it's a really half-assed like, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll sign up. They clearly don't sound very certain. Then I'm not just going to take that at face value and go straight for the sale. Like, awesome, here's the link. Let me know when you got it handled. Then we'll do the onboarding. It's like, dude, take a step back. Like, they said they're in, but the tonality did not say they're in. So you want to address that. right? Don't skip past it. Like, if they're in, they need to be 1,000% in. So I would literally just ask them point blank. It's like, hey man, that's awesome. But if I'm being honest, like, you don't sound 100% certain. I really don't want you to do this if you're not certain. So I want you to know, like, it's 100% fine to say no, but like, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Like, is this something you really want to do? Then they'll say, okay, yes, I want to do it. Then you have that double commitment. Then you can proceed. How do you do that? 9 magic words to close the deal. Please write these down, engrave them on the inside of your brain. Use these words to make millions of dollars over the next 50 years of your life. These are the magic words to transition from objection handling into getting the money. Perfect. Let me get you entered into the system. Perfect. Let me get you entered into the system. Boom. You pull up Stripe, enter in the invoice details, enter in the card details, bang, you close them, you get the money. That's how you do it. I see so many people, so many freelancers dropping the ball at like the literal fucking 1 yard line from the end, simply because they don't know how to ask for the money. Like, they don't know what to say, and they just trip over their own balls and fall over. It's really painful, okay? Just memorize those words. Perfect. Let me get you entered into the system. Bang. Bring up Stripe, get the details, charge the card, and just like that, boom, baby. Boom, kaboom. You closed the deal. You got the money. My friend, congratulations. You just signed your first paying client. This is a big fucking deal. You've sealed the deal. You've seen the money land in your Stripe account. You've proven to yourself that this is real. I want you to give yourself a giant pat on the back. You are now officially a freelancer. You're no longer a entrepreneur watching from the sidelines. You've silenced the haters. You've overcome your own internal doubts. You've accomplished what 90% of talkers will never accomplish in their entire lives. Call your mom, tell her the good news, take her out for dinner, goddammit, because she deserves it, and then on to the final step. Because this isn't over. Your work, my friend, is only just getting started. At last, we're on to the final stage of the process, enrolling the client. This one is super quick and easy, but definitely worth covering, as I don't want you to trip over your own dick right after you've closed the sale. So after you're done running around your house screaming and celebrating, by all means, please do that. I did that in my first ever sales call. Remember that moment for the rest of my life. It was fucking incredible. Nothing ever in business will feel better than making that first ever sale. So I want you to cherish that shit. Cherish it, because you deserve it. Well done. Like, well done. Now it's time to onboard your new client, deliver some kick-ass results. That's what we're going to do. So, onboarding steps, there's 5 steps that you need to do to onboard your new client. We're going to send him an onboarding email with an agreement. So once you have taken the payment there and then on the call, right, you're going to get off the call, welcome them, all that stuff. You're going to send them an onboarding email with an agreement. Step 2, you're going to create a battle plan. Step 3, you're going to conduct a onboarding call. Step 4, begin the work. And then step 5, a weekly check-in. This is optional, but highly recommended. So let's smash these right now. First off, onboarding email. You're going to send your new client an email welcoming them, and you're going to attach the agreement and a link to the onboarding form. So the agreement, do not overcomplicate this. It doesn't have to be a 30-page legal document. This is literally just a simple 1 to 2 page document that clearly outlines the terms of your service, who is responsible for what, how much you'll be paid, and also when you'll be paid. Be very clear. Remember, in this life, you get what you negotiate, not what you deserve. Now, I'm not a lawyer, this is not legal advice, but in 99% of cases, you're perfectly fine using a site like Hello Bonsai or Lodopo to generate a generic freelancer or service provider agreement. Just search for those terms. Now, I don't know what country you live in, and I can't provide specific legal advice to every single person watching this, so this may not be a legally binding document, okay? Don't sue me, I'm just a messenger. If you really care, feel free to get it reviewed by a lawyer. I'm going to assume you don't have the budget for that, nor the fucks to give, like me. So you're better off just understanding that you shouldn't really be relying on contracts to run your business and to keep clients. The reality is, if people want to cancel, if they want out, if they want a refund or charge back, like, people are going to do what they're going to do, regardless of the agreement. So the agreement really, it's just a formality. Rely on the actual results that you bring to the table for the client to keep them around, not the agreement. The agreement really is just to make it official. It's just to show that you're professional, because it's how professionals operate with agreements. To actually send and sign the agreement, you can once again use a tool like Hello Bonsai or Sign Now. There's hundreds of those sites, or simply just send them a PDF that they can sign with like Paint or Preview or whatever. It doesn't really matter how you do it, just matters that you do it. But definitely using a site like Sign Now, Sign Well, DocuSign, that sort of thing does look more professional. Second thing you're going to include in the welcome email is going to be the onboarding form. So this is a very simple Google form with everything that you need from them to get started, right? Because there is some information that you need from their end in order for you to do your job. The sooner you get that information, the sooner you can start making the money. So first thing, obviously, if you're doing done for you list management, you're going to need their login details for their ESP. Now, an alternative you can use if they're hesitant to give you their password, very common solution is to use a tool like 1Password or LastPass. So that way they can share login details with you without actually sharing the password. Second thing you're going to need if you're managing their social media is obviously pictures for content, their promotional calendar, like what's coming up that you want to promote, that you want me to write emails about, right? Probably helpful if the emails are relevant to sell shit they actually are trying to sell. Any major life stories or lessons for content. What would be useful is if they already have like a podcast or a YouTube video or something where they've kind of explained, not their whole life story, but kind of like their overall business journey or something like that. Like it's really helpful for you to know that stuff. So you can, obviously you're going to be writing emails from the perspective of them, and literally you're going to be them in your emails. You kind of need to know a lot about this person. The more info they can give you or resources they can point you towards, the better. Next is the preferred platform for communicating. Are we going to communicate on email, Slack, WhatsApp? What's it going to be? Any emails or particular marketing angles that they have used and tested over the years that they know work really well, that are proven, or on the contrary, flop. Me, for example, with my audience, if I send any email or make any post or YouTube video around getting copywriting clients, it absolutely crushes. That is all my audience wants. If I make any email or post or video about anything else, like raising your prices or AI or keeping clients, my audience literally does not give two fucks. They only want to know how to get their first client, which kind of baffles me because I've literally told them 100,000 times, but they still somehow want to get their first client. How possibly with these videos do you not have your first client by now? Blows my mind. Anyways, probably because the information is free and people don't execute on free information. That's another story for another day. Any additional notes that you want to add those in. Second thing you're going to do is create a battle plan. So with the info you have collected from the onboarding form, you are going to craft a battle plan for them, including the 4 Forces avatar profile. We've talked about that a couple of modules ago. There's a refresher there if you need it. Promotional calendar for the next 30 days, meaning a rough outline of every email that you're going to send for the next 30 days, which is just kind of a general month overview of what type of emails you're going to send each week. Are you going to do particular promotions? So everyone's on the same page. Next is the sending cadence. Are you going to send 3 times a week, 4 times a week, daily? Get clear on that. Make your recommendation. Obviously, the more emails you send, the more money they're going to make. Next, you want to create a deliverability optimization plan. This is how you plan to get them out of spam, get them out of promo, and ensure that emails hit the primary inbox. And if you don't know how to do that, maybe you should learn by, joining CMB. Alternatively, I've got 2 YouTube videos which go pretty in depth on this. So this video is all about how to get out of the promo tab, and this video right here is all about how to get out of spam. So 90% of everything you need to know about email deliverability is in those 2 videos, and they're free. You're welcome. Next is the major automations that you're going to set up for them. So this is going to be the welcome sequence, the list cleaner automation to remove inactive subscribers, browse abandonment, customer nurture email sequences, pre-call nurture sequences, call no-show sequences, cart abandonment sequences if it's an e-com store, and then all the steps that you're going to take in what order. This is really like a done for you game plan. Like, hey, this is what I'm going to do for you over the next 30 days. You're going to impress them so much that they're going to sign up, just like we did for the $500 million client I mentioned earlier. Step 3 is the onboarding call. You want to set up a 30 to 60 minute onboarding call about 2 to 3 days later, or however long you think you'll need to complete these steps. On the call, you want to review the battle plan. You want to make sure that you're on the same page about the customer avatar, their brand voice, their product, their price point, the promo calendar, the promises you're making, what the guarantee is, and your overall plan. So it's a little bit of work up front for both of you, but really this will pay dividends in terms of how good the emails are going to be, how congruent they're going to be. Because the last thing you want is to be saying shit and making all these promises when like the offer is something totally different. And then they're putting the hit on you saying, hey, why the fuck did you promise these people all this stuff? We can't deliver on that. You definitely don't want that happening. Communication is key. Step 4, you're going to get to work. So once approved, go and create all the stuff, all the necessary assets, the automation, the sequences, and the first week of emails. And then number 5, this is optional, but definitely recommended, is having some sort of a weekly check-in. Now, this could be a call, or it could simply be on WhatsApp or something like that. So after you've built out all the automations, you've written the first week of emails, I highly recommend you do a quick review call to make sure that the client is happy with your brand voice, your writing style, your promises, so on and so on. It's a gradual process of learning that, but the more feedback you can get early on, the better you're able to course correct. and then start nailing it right out of the gate rather than taking like 3 months to dial in that brand voice. One thing is just understand some clients, like me, really hate Zoom calls. So give them the option to either do the call if they want to. Some people like calls, or instead, if it's easier, just review the plan on email or WhatsApp or whatever, and they can reply with a quick voice message or something like that instead, which is easier for people that hate calls like me. Now, after the first week, I recommend you set up some sort of regular cadence. So it could either be a quick 10-minute call on Zoom or WhatsApp just to check in, to debrief the results of that week's emails, to share the feedback, and also collect any relevant stories or updates or business or life things that happen with them that you can actually use as content for their emails. Some people, it's really easy because they share everything on social media like me. And so my copywriter would be able to just watch my Instagram stories, know what I'm up to, and then he would be able to put that in the emails. But for people who don't really share that much online, you're going to have to get that information directly from them. So now it is time to get to work delivering killer results for your new client. Let's land this plane. Let's bring this puppy home. Let's talk about the actual action steps from this module. Now, this part is totally optional. If you want to be one of those people who just watches long videos like this, actually makes it all the way to the end, and then just decides to do nothing and let it be another course just collecting dust on your shelf, hey, you're more than welcome to do that. I hope you enjoyed this Netflix episode. Please continue doing nothing. May your life stay the same. But I got a sneaking suspicion if you actually made it to this point in the video, where probably 90% of people have fucked off to watch cat memes of Miley Cyrus, it probably means you're a bit serious about this. So why don't we actually maybe put this into action and actually use this to make money instead of just learning stuff and getting smarter? Cool? Reasonable, man tone? So if you didn't do it already, please go back, complete the money exercise with the screwdrivers, do all that stuff. You really need to screw your head on straight before you start to attempt to do any of this. Step 2, I want you to complete Hormozi's value equation with the dream outcome, perceived likelihood of achievement, time delay, and then effort and sacrifice. And then my version of it, where we go much deeper. We talk about the transformation, the mechanism, the guarantee, the price, so on and so on. Please take an hour. Please do the exercise as thoroughly as possible. Put together a really banger offer. And I promise the most high ROI hours you will ever spend. Because if you do it right, you'll have an offer that sells itself and you literally won't even need the rest of this training. Next, you want to decide the 2 offers that you're going to sell, your main offer and your upsell, and you can price them strategically like we talked about to make one of them a decoy, so you get most people choosing the one that you prefer. Number 4, you're going to write a 2 to 3 sentence summary of that offer to present to the client on the call. This is your pitch. Step 5, this is a continuous ongoing thing, but keep in mind Google's 7-11-4 rule. Be proactive, optimize your online reputation. Make sure that if someone Googles you, they find, number 1, content, it's not a ghost town, but number 2, they find good things and not bad things. Step 6, set up your tech stack, your Calendly, your Zoom, your Stripe, if you don't have them already. Number 7, you want to write that pre-call nurture sequence like we talked about with the 3 emails. Number 8, highly recommend it. Order and listen to The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort, the audiobook, to really go deep on tonality, as that is a super important part of the sales process. Number 9, grab your copy of my CMB closing script right down below. Make a copy in Google Docs, edit to your heart's content to suit your own offer, and turn it into your own script because you're you, not Sean Ferres. I'm Sean Ferres. I'm taken. There's only one of you, so you do you, okay? Number 10, go back to the objection handling portion of this training and put together your own personal objection handling cheat sheet. So you're going to take some of the objections that you get most often, you're going to write your own responses to them, so that way you can have it pulled up ready on the call. So you can quickly reference them when you need to handle and overcome those objections. Eventually, you'll become good enough where you won't need the sheet and you can just do it on the fly. Step 11, this one is so important. Role play at least 3 sales calls with a friend before doing your first sales call. I promise you, even after going through this training, your first sales call is going to suck. My first sales call sucked ass. It was fucking horrible. And I didn't close the guy, right? It's pretty unlikely you're going to close your first ever sales call. But just like you would never attempt to go and run a marathon if you've never run more than 5Ks before, you're going to practice before you do the real thing, okay? So partner up with a friend, ideally another freelancer. They play the prospect, you play you, do the whole sales call, objections and everything. Start on easy mode and then go medium and then go to hard mode where they're like really skeptical once you get good, and then swap. You play the prospect, they play the closer. Now you might roll your eyes, go, oh, seems like unnecessary, it's like hard work, whatever. Fine, don't do it. Blow your first sales call, lose yourself a $36,000 a year deal. What's more expensive? 3 hours of your time or 36 grand? That's what I thought. The more you sweat in practice, the less you bleed in battle. Remember that. Number 12, make your own agreement and your onboarding form so you're ready when you actually sign your first client. Number 13, make sure you record all of your future sales calls and always listen back to the calls afterwards, the ones that you closed and the ones that you didn't close, so you can see what you did well when you were on a hot streak and then what you fucked up, so you can learn from your mistakes so you know not to do it again. Because listening back to the call, you have a more objective point of view and you can tell, this is the moment where everything went south. Let's not do that again. Or this is the moment where he was in and this is where I got him. I should do that again. Step 14, go book some calls, make some goddamn money. With that said, we have reached the end of an epic journey. We started in the spare room of my old place a year and a half ago, can you believe it? Chubby Sean in a checkered shirt doing bicep curls with ClickFunnels awards. And here we are 18 months later, finally there, took you all the way through the journey from how to learn copywriting to actually landing your first client and getting paid. Thank you so much for following this journey with me. I really hope you got a lot out of this training, out of this whole series. If this is valuable to you, please share it with a fellow copywriter. I'm sure they could really use the help. And as a little bonus surprise before I go, well, there might just be one more little bonus training to come on how to actually keep clients, upsell clients, and run your freelancing business after you've landed clients. Not making any promises, but if there is a bonus module 9, then you should find the link to it somewhere around here. With that said, go close some deals, make some fucking money, make me proud. I'll see you later.